If there is anything that needs to be satirized and remixed, it is Trump talking about massive dumps. And by the way, extra points, if you can sample Trump saying massive dumps and me talking about it in a song, please do it.
Dumps. Big massive dumps. Dumps. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps. Dump, dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps. Dump, dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sure you just
Dump, dump,
won.
dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps.
Donald Trump insisted multiple times that it was massive dumps that led him to lose the election, which is just
on another level, on another level.
Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sure you just
Dump, dump,
won.
dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sure you just
Dump,
won.
dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dump.
You turn the faucet on in areas where there's tremendous amounts of water, where the water rushes out to sea, because you could have people are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times, as opposed to once. Quietly dripping.
Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sure you just
Dump,
won.
dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps. Dump, dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dumps.
what is going on here? What is going on here? It's just beyond parody. I mean, massive dumps cost him the election. What is going on here? What is going on here? It's just beyond parody. I mean, massive dumps cost him the election.
Look at those eyes, man. That dude is gone, ladies and gentlemen.
Alex Jones is now very, very upset with me.
Look at that. That is a freaking predator right there. Who thinks he's smarter than you, thinks he's better than you, and he's gonna beat you. Pac-Man never talked to the New World Order, because Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. He's not a knight at the round table.
That's true. I'm not a knight at the round. That actually is accurate.
That dude is gone, ladies and gentlemen. Pac-Man. If I was telling my children who not to be, it's Pac-Man. Pac-Man's a loser. Smarter than you, thinks he's better than you, and he's gonna beat you. The evil's growing, it's coming. What you asked for is now at the door, scratching. So open the door and prepare to meet your destiny. Pac-Man's a loser. Man's a loser. That is a freaking predator right there. Who thinks he's smarter than you, thinks he's better than you, and he's gonna beat you.
Then he went, Donald Trump, yeah, Donald Trump. I love Donald Trump, but no more drop box. The drop boxes are just so bad. No more drop boxes. Dickinson, Holajic, and Cephahide. That was about a guy named, a rhino named Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney. Real beauty. Had to give the American people their voice back by building something called Truth Central. He voted against Kate's Law, and he voted for Obama amnesty. You know, we've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP, right? J.D. Mandel, and he's doing great. I've had more investigations than Jesse James, Billy the Could. Some of the world's greatest cricket players, from Sachin Tendulkar to Virat Kohli. As the great religious teacher Swami Vivekananda once said. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings of that investigation. And God bless the United States. Thank you very much. He was awarded the Bronze Star and the Combat Infantryman Badge for his service. We have to keep our country great, but it's not, I mean, for some reason, it's just not great anymore. If you care about law and order, look, law and order. In normal times, roughly 40% of fresh vegetables and about 40% China. Nambia's health system is increasingly self-sufficient. This is not about virtue cycling and signing. And the great general and President Ulysses S. Grant, he's really come back a long way over the last 10 years, hasn't he? We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple. When they gaze upon Yosemite's towering sequoias, they delivered a swift and sweeping, that sweeping. It was swift and it was sweeping like nobody's ever seen anything happen. Units of plasma for plasma. Donate plasma. In the failing New York Times by an anonymous, gutless coward. I may ask Marilyn Lockheed, the leading woman's business. No teacher should ever be allowed to teach transgender to our children without parental consent. No, nobody has to have parental consent. And we will totally oppose the Biden administration. This administration.
He made some statements, rough statements on Jewish. You heard them and you know them well.
Uh-oh. Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes.
Uh-oh. I love mangoes too.
9 cents. Okay. Now that we are up under a Biden's regime, my bag of mangoes now costs $11.99.
That seems like a pretty good deal. A bag of mangoes? Aren't mangoes like $3 each? That's it. I want what, $8 or $11. That sounds good.
The American people alive. And highway robbery is what you're doing. Bring my mangoes back down. My bag of mangoes. My bag of mangoes.
Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes. Bring my mangoes back down. Raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Bring my mangoes back down.
The Wisconsin crowd identified with the mangoes.
Disproportionately affected the American people. Those who want me to be healthy. Those who want me to be healthy. And highway robbery is what you're doing. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of
Mangoes? Well, the time has come. It is the fourth and final day of CPAC with DPAC 2023. The failed former president, Donald Trump, who is again saying, pick me in 2024, will be speaking to us in mere moments, scheduled for 25 past the hour. And it is so great to have everybody here. There has been it's been a unique CPAC in a few different ways, and we are now at the culmination of it in Washington, D.C. It's been unique in that it has been particularly pathetic because its organizer, Matt Schlapp, brutally accused of sexually assaulting a male intern of Herschel Walker some months ago. And that has certainly put a damper on the entire thing. Additionally, a lot of people turned down invitations to CPAC for whatever reason, right? And we could speculate as to the reasons why. And thirdly, there is a Republican civil war going on. And in fact, the early reports, and as you can see, this is very serious mental illness that's taking place at CPAC here. Very, very, really putting on the front page, at the forefront of our minds, the mental health crisis in the United States. The third element of it is that the reports are that Trump is going to go absolutely bazingas this evening on the Republican Party, on the Bush Republicans, the Rhino Republicans, as he calls them. And I would say that tonight is the official start of the 2024 primary. Now, I know you might say, well, David, sir, you're making me cry. I'm a big, tough guy. You're making me cry anyway, because weeks ago, Nikki Haley announced that, she's a woman and she's younger and she's Indian and vote for her in an example of identity politics. Wasn't that the start? Or wasn't the start when Trump announced? Or won't the start be when DeSantis announces? I believe tonight the tone will be set that this is the start of the 2024 Republican primary. I believe it is going to be by far the ugliest that I am ever going to cover. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, a lot of strange anti-Semitic comments come. It's a little early for the anti-Semitic comments, I do want to say, but you know, we can start the bans. Socialism is when no fridge has just signed up with a Twitch Prime subscription, and I very, very much appreciate that as we are standing by here, and I guess Rush Limbaugh and something else. Everybody's doing different things, but we are moments away from the Trump speech. Okay, super chats. No super chats yet. Let's look at a few moments. Let's look at polling. So going into tonight's speech with the idea that this is really the official start of the 2024 Republican primary, you see that Trump is still polling very strongly. When it's Trump, DeSantis, and Nikki Haley, Trump is up 12. When it's Trump, Haley, Trump is up 33. Trump, DeSantis, Trump is up 8. And this is a different version, I guess. Oh, this is with a whole bunch of different people. You've got a lot of zeros. Chris Christie polling 0. Trump is up 16. So listen, it's very early to say anything specific about the value of these polls other than it's better for Trump when there are more candidates. Or candidates, as some like to say. I say candidates, but some people say candidates. The more people that are running, the better it seems to be for Donald Trump so far. So those are the circumstances going into this thing. We also have, I guess we can look at a few moments. Mike Pillow announced something incredibly strong at today's event.
Over 54 countries have now been taken by the machines.
Yeah, listen to what he announced.
RNC, because I'm going to do a call out to them. If you all know that Ronna McDaniel said that she'd look forward to working with Mike Lindell, well, what do you think? If you're working with me, what do you think you're going to work on?
Right.
It's pretty obvious. Well, I'm announcing putting everything under one roof in this country. Everything that all people across this country have been doing, different groups. We've been trying to keep it all organized. But
by the way, he is shaking that lectern like crazy. It's very, very odd.
Have the Election Crime Bureau.com. You can all check it out. I'm making the announcement here.
Whoa, the Election Crime Bureau.com. Anybody know what's on that site? When I checked it earlier, it gave me an error.
And you can all use your help, get there. But I'm asking that the RNC endorse this. I don't need any help from them.
Okay, he doesn't need any help, but he's asking just for an endorsement and an endorsement alone. Super chats coming in. Michael says, did you hear the Donald Trump song he did with the January 6 rioters? I did not. Megwine says, love the show, David, sir. Here's something so you can share some mangoes with your family. Thank you very much, Meg. Very much appreciate that. We got to get those mangoes back down. That's for damn sure. Let's look at a couple other clips. Let's look at a few other clips here from CPAC, as I like to call it. Here is Steve Bannon wearing what looks like, hold on, how many shirts is he wearing? 1, 2, 3 shirts, 3 pens, and 2 phones. A disturbing image. And I really don't know why he wears that many shirts. But that is a hell of a lot of shirts, folks. Hell of a lot of shirts. Let's see what else happened today at CPAC. Sebastian Gorka dressed like Sean Penn. Interesting. Here's Elise Stefanik. You can always count on her to bring sobriety and common sense to any discussion.
And of course, we have the Twitter files and the FBI's illegal suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Illegal.
Shamelessly using...
Anybody know what crimes were committed there? And by the way, anybody have any idea what the crime was when Twitter was like, you can't post naked pics of Hunter? What crime was committed? Anybody know?
Millions of taxpayers.
It was fentanyl. Right, yeah.
Dollars. I will say that again. We, the American people, unknowingly picked up the tab for the FBI to pay Twitter to interfere in the 2020 election on behalf of Joe Biden.
Right.
It's un-American, and we will hold them accountable.
Excellent. So anyway, we're standing by for pretty major accountability. Andrew says with a beautiful super chat, can we get a Trump audio glitch? Yeah, let me see if I have the Trump audio glitches.
People were starting to come.
That's not it. That's the wrong one. Hold on. Is this it?
And he's going to represent you.
No, that's not it. Oh, wait, here.
Further scream that his days are numbered. Trump, this is a gross prosecutorial misconduct.
That was one of them. And then here are the other Trump audio glitches.
And our incredible, oh, these people don't know what the hell they're doing. The Biden. Let me recover my ears for 1 second.
I'm hoping that was a preview or I'm hoping that there will be major audio malfunctions during Trump's speech tonight. Welcome, everybody. It is still early. You have not missed anything yet. Well, we're looking at super chats and hearing from people. Did I see where Gates threatened to take Democrats off committees if they don't get behind their sham investigations? No, let's see if we get to that in our highlights in a moment. Sir, with tears in my eyes, Nightbot got me for spamming mangoes. I'm guilty and I repent. Here's $5 as tithings. I appreciate that. DJ Kento says, as a fat guy, I can tell you why Steve Bannon wears so many shirts. It's to even out the lumps in your body and make you look big but not fat. It never works. Wow. Hyper-specific explanation from DJ Kento. Yours truly, the number one pony, says, sir, watch a doc about the painful history of the Native American in early America. You know, the kind of history Republicans don't want you to know about. Right. Right. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, I did want to dump in one quick voicemail. Oh, let me see if I've got it. I don't have it. I'm gonna have to find it for us for a little bit later. David Blaine says, love the show, David. How badly were you affected by the 2019 adpocalypse specifically? I am not aware of any 2019 adpocalypse. I remember the 2017 adpocalypse, and we lost at that point 98% of our YouTube revenue. But 2019 adpocalypse, I actually don't remember. If it was a minor, if it was like a little, it wasn't an apocalypse, it was more like a rapture, a mini rapture. Then I could, look into the details a little bit more. All right, let's look at a couple of other clips here. Here, oh my God, Michael Knowles spoke at CPAC, and he went on an anti-transgender rant.
And we will ban men.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. It is all or nothing.
By the way, that's the type of tie I wore to my parents' New Year's Eve party when I was 7 years old and I wanted to dress up in like a mini suit. That is exactly the tie, except mine, the dark blue was like a slightly lighter blue. It's very interesting. I used to have that tie 30 years ago.
Nothing. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages.
You know, the really dumb thing, you guys all know that, I know I don't have to do any of the disclaimers. You all know that I'm open to saying we have to figure out what to do with some sports, and we should be really clear about the long-term effects of puberty blockers because there are concerns about osteoporosis and bone density. Like, research absolutely everything. But these guys like to do something slick, which is they go, prove that men can be women. It's like, wait a second. If you want to talk about proof, right? It is a fact that people vary in their gender expression. It is a fact, right? Whatever you want to say, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, or Neil Tyson deGrasse, as many of the people who email me about it say, Neil deGrasse Tyson in an interview with Benjamin Shapiro made this crystal clear, which is like, listen, you can talk about, are there some aspects of transgenderism that would be for a biology class? Are there aspects of transgenderism that would be for a sociology class or whatever? But the one fact that we have here is people express their gender on a spectrum. And given that that is an undeniable fact, Now it's just a question of, okay, how do we guide public policy around it? How do we guide all of these different things? But they love this whole thing about the truth. Can men really be women? Well, the truth is there's a spectrum of gender expression. That's the truth, and it's an undeniable truth.
If transgenderism is false, as it is,
False.
if men really can't become women, as they cannot, then it's false for everybody too.
Right.
And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion,
Why don't you help actual poor people rather than supposed victims of someone else being trans, which is crazy?
Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely.
Eradicate transgenderism. You guys heard that, right? Everybody's clear on the language there?
The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
Nothing titillates a CPAC crowd like homophobia or transphobia.
There can be...
So for people wondering, like, what the hell is going on with Michael Knowles, do you guys want to know? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Do people want to know what's really going on with Michael Knowles? People don't want to know. Oh, wait a second. Is Trump here? Oh, let's see what this is.
Hearing about it for the first time, about the loyalty pledge. There are probably people that I wouldn't be very happy about endorsing, running. So we'll see. I think some of them, I won't use names, I don't want to insult anybody, but some of them I would not be very happy about. So we'll have to think about that.
Mr. President, you've run on taking down the establishment. Do you think your biggest opponent is another candidate or the Murdoch, McConnell, Ken Griffin machine?
I think that we have lots of opponents and we have lots of friends. And you see the friends by the amount of people here right now. People are camping out overnight. They've been here for 3 days. They didn't even come in. They just wanted to see this particular speech, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. No, I don't think we have a lot of opponents that are going to be effective.
Mr. President, James Rosen with Newsmax. I have two questions about
Yes.
the election, if you'd indulge me. This campaign for the presidency unfolds against a backdrop in which, unlike the previous ones, you face multiple criminal investigations into your activities. I know that you have dismissed these as politically partisan witch hunts and that you maintain your complete and total innocence. Nonetheless, we are given to believe that one or more of these investigations may soon approach their resolution in terms of the handing down of indictments.
All right, good question.
Can you take this moment to assure your donors and your supporters that you're in this race to stay no matter what happens with those investigations? If you are indicted one or more times?
Sure. Well, they did 2 phony impeachments, and we won that, and the Republicans stuck together.
Did you guys know Trump won the impeachments?
We went up very substantially in the polls. These are witch hunts. These have been going on for a long time. They've weaponized justice in our country. It's a disgrace, and I think people are very angry about it. Even Democrats are very angry about it.
So you'll stay in the race?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't even think about leaving. These are fake stories. These are horrible. The press is pressing them.
Trump looks ill.
Something, and I think it's very sad for our country. I think it's very dangerous for our country. And people, I can say that you have thousands of people outside, and you didn't have that for others. They're very upset and very angry about it. It's just a continuation of the.
You're just joining us. Donald Trump is holding some kind of a impromptu press conference before his CPAC speech, which is starting in about 10 minutes.
From the Justice Department, or as I call it, the Injustice Department. It starts there.
Trump won 2 impeachments, but lost the Super Bowl.
Agencies and the local DAs and attorney generals, they put people from the Justice Department in the Manhattan DA's office. I mean, think about that. They're racists. You got a lot of racists. You got a lot of race baiting. It's a disgraceful thing that's going on. The country's never seen anything like it. And yeah, I probably.
Anybody think Trump could define race baiting in any way that anybody would understand it?
Mr. President, real quick, let's talk about your policy. You just announced you'll be in Iowa on March 13th to talk about your America First education policy. Would you care to elaborate on that?
Well, I'm going to have a very long statement on that, and we're going to be doing things that are, I think, going to be very, very beneficial. I was going to do it probably second term, and then we had a great election. We got 12 million more votes than we got the first time. We did much better than we did the first time.
My second election was so good that I ended up not being president and unable to do any of this stuff.
You got that number, you can't lose. But we were going to do this. I would like to just about end the Department of Education. It's time. The country does very well in some ways, but very badly in others. We did fantastically in everything. We did as good as you can do in education, but you have to get rid of the Department of Education, close it up. When you look at the list of countries, we're always at the bottom. We spend more money per pupil, and we're always at the bottom of a list.
We're terrible at math, so close the DOE.
Up and let local areas and, frankly, states handle education. I don't know if that's good politically to say or bad politically to say, but that's the way it's going to be. We're going to close it up.
Mr. President, Ron DeSantis has not entered this presidential race yet, but he appears to be your most significant challenger in a one-on-one matchup. A lot of the folks that we talk to out here say that they'd love to see a Trump-DeSantis ticket. What do you tell them? Would you consider asking Ron DeSantis right now to be your vice presidential pick?
Beautiful.
Well, I've always had a great relationship with Ron. I was the one that made it possible for him to win. He was at a very low number, and after I endorsed him, he went up by a lot, and he asked me to do that. I've always had a good relationship with him, but it's much too early to talk about that.
Why should he not be the presidential candidate for Republicans?
Well, he can be if he wants to be.
Why should the folks not turn to him if he makes the case of being a new generation?
I think I've done something that nobody else has been able to do. We turned around this country. This country was never better. Our economy was the best in history.
This is actually pretty interesting, I have to say.
Got rid of the biggest regulation cut in history.
I mean, he's lying uncontrollably, but it's interesting.
Things that nobody else has done, and you wouldn't have had Ukraine and Russia fighting. It would have not happened. Zero chance of it happening. Now, as you know, China's looking at Taiwan, and President Xi, who's somebody that I know very well, that would never have happened. They wouldn't be looking. Those bombers started going over and taking pictures of Taiwan the day I left, and should have never left because, frankly, that election, and people have to look at it. They're going to be looking at it for a long time. It was a disgrace. It was a disgrace to our country. And I will say that all of the things, all of the great things we did, I don't think anybody else could have come close to doing them. And I think for the most part, we've been so rewarded. We've been rewarded with tremendous adulation. And it's not for me. It's for all of us. It's for the administration. But it's for the people. Make America great again. We put America first. And nobody's been able to do that.
He really martyred himself.
Important in a certain way. We were respected like never before.
Absolutely no poll you can find that shows we were more respected under Trump.
You look at the fact that we took out the ISIS caliphate. Everyone said that was impossible to do. I did it in 3 weeks. Now I think we have a record that's really unsurpassed.
Mr. President, following on China, do you feel vindicated that even the FBI, which has been after you, obviously, is basically confirmed what you said first, that this may have been a Wuhan lab leak? And you're also the only candidate that I know of who has spoken aggressively about holding China accountable. If you're elected again, what will you do to make China pay for that?
Well, Ed, I said very early on, this is Wuhan lab. That's where it came from. And
what will you do in 3 years to hold China accountable for something you almost certainly completely misunderstood 3 years ago?
You know that. And it turned out to be Wuhan lab. It is Wuhan lab. I don't care what they say. They say Department of Energy made a statement and some other department made it. That doesn't matter. I felt it was Wuhan lab. That's where it came from. I also think they made a horrible mistake. Somebody blew it. China. Whether you call it incompetence or anything else, because obviously, and you've seen it more so in the last year than you did.
He is doing the thing where he hinges forward and rocks. It's a very interesting thing. It's almost like a wooden doll.
It came from there. Yeah, and there should be, in some way, there should be something paid to the world. The world lost $50 trillion. That's the way I estimate. $50 trillion. China doesn't have $50 trillion or anything close.
Right.
But something should be done for the world by China, because what they put the world through is a terrible, terrible.
Quick follow-up. Are you surprised that Joe Biden still has not been to East Palestine? You went there. You kind of shamed the transportation secretary into going. You brought your own water.
He shaved the what? Oh, shamed. Oh, my God.
Well, I'm surprised that he hasn't gone. I think he should go. It shows spirit. It shows a little unity. It was an area that voted very much for Trump, but that doesn't really, I go to areas that didn't necessarily vote so much for me. I think he's making a big, big mistake by not going.
Mr. President,
It sends a very bad signal.
Mr. President, thank you for taking my question,
thank
sir.
you.
Unlike the current administration, when you were in office, you held Vladimir Putin in check, sir. Thinking back to your time, is there anything that you said or did that you believe struck enough fear in his heart to hold him in check?
Well, he knew there'd be retribution if he went into Ukraine. He knew that. He was told that very strongly. I had a very good relationship with him, but he understood that. And I said, just don't do it. He wasn't going to do it. There was no...
This is beyond parody.
Well, you know, if you look at the border forming and everything else with the soldiers, he did this after I was gone. It would have never happened. It's one of the saddest things because so much, you wouldn't have inflation, you wouldn't have a lot of different things, but one of the things you wouldn't have had is Russia invading Ukraine. And when I see all of those tens of thousands of people being killed on both sides, tremendous numbers of soldiers on both sides, you look at the destruction where cities are leveled to the ground. There's no city left. I mean, a lot of these areas are just gone. It take you 50 years to rebuild them. Those beautiful buildings, those ancient buildings with the gold.
This is almost better than the speech, guys, I have to say.
It's a very, very sad thing. It could have been, and it would have been very easy. At the same time, and I'll be talking about it in the speech, I could settle that situation in 24 hours as president. I could
just like he was going to fix the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in that first year of his presidency, just like that.
Settlement now. People are dying, and it's only going to get worse. Ukraine is being blown up, all of its cities, all of its places, all of its energy area. They're all being blown. Everything's being blown to smithereens. And it really has to have it now. And by the way, Russia's taking big lumps also in many different ways. So
poor Putin. Have you seen the guy?
In 24 hours, if people knew what they were doing.
Mr. President, Mike Pompeo here yesterday talked about how the right shouldn't follow celebrity leaders, those with fragile egos who refuse to acknowledge reality. Was he talking about you? Do you have a response?
No, I don't think he was talking about me. I don't consider myself a celebrity leader. I consider myself a leader of the country, but I don't consider myself a celebrity leader. I didn't do this for celebrity. Maybe it helped me get elected, who knows, but I don't consider that. I consider myself a person that was president for 4 years, and we had record business, record employment. We had the strongest economy in history. And I really did it twice because we then got hit by the China virus, and I had to rebuild it again, and I gave over a stock market that was higher than just before the virus came in.
China.
So, no, I don't think so. I can't imagine he was talking about
Should
Mr.
Should Kamala Harris, should Vice President Harris, in your view, when the electoral votes from the 2024 election are certified in the Congress, have the power, when that's happening, to reject Republican electoral votes?
Well, you know, they did have a certain power. They certainly had the power to send it back because right after everything was over, and they all said they didn't have it, and I said, well, our vice president isn't supposed to be a conveyor belt. If they find something wrong, they should do something about it. But they changed, as you know, the Voting Act. They changed it right after. Now, I said, why did he change it if he couldn't do anything? They said, well, he could do something. It turned out that it was a big con job. But
crystal clear answer about the constitutionality and procedure. It's just crystal clear.
Mr. President, you posted up on Truth Social a really creative picture about Nikki Haley and the empty seats that were in the arena, and you said, hey, follow your heart. You want to follow up on that post?
No. I mean, I hope she had a nice crowd, but it didn't look like it was very good. But I like Nikki, and she's got to follow her heart. I told her, follow her heart.
Gotcha. Should the U.S.
What specifically will you do to end the war in 24 hours?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you that, because if I told you that...
Secret.
I probably wouldn't be able to do it.
It's a secret, guys.
You know, we're playing a giant chess game here. We're not just, I'll tell you exactly what I'll do. It would be so easy to settle that war.
Yep.
I could do it in 24 hours. Now,
but it's going to be a secret, guys, please.
To do it, you have to be president. You need that office, that power, that whatever it is. That would be settled in 24 hours. And again, it never would have happened. It never, ever would have happened.
I believe it.
Not even thinkable. But that could be settled in 24 hours, and that's what should happen. That war should be settled in 24 hours.
In the meanwhile, would you encourage Congress to continue to provide aid to Ukraine?
I would say that Europe should start spending money. We're up to $140 billion, and they're at like 50.
So he doesn't really know the answers to these things because it's like, okay, if he says no more money for Ukraine, that's weird because it looks very Russia friendly. You're basically saying do whatever you want, Russia. But so he comes up with these things like, well, Europe should spend more money because he doesn't really know the answer. He doesn't have any idea.
Paying for NATO, you know that. I mean, they just weren't paying. And I got them to put up $447 billion in a very short period of time. They wouldn't have the money to be fighting Russia right now if it wasn't for me. But what I don't like seeing is that the United States is in for, and you hear a lot of different calculations. You hear 100, you hear 90, you hear 114, you hear 140 today. But we're in for, let's say, $140 billion, and they're in for less than 25. And it affects them more. So one of the things I like is at least let's not be called a stupid country. And that's what they call us, because we're defending that whole...
They called us that when Trump became president.
Germany's not paying its share. Other countries are not paying its share. And the United States is really taking the whole load, and it's not right. And you know, you could sit down with these other leaders. I know all of them, or most of them, and within 10 minutes, they would agree to pay if you said the right things to them. But they're not paying. We're paying, and that's unfair.
Mr. President,
Nikki Haley was in your administration, and others who served under you are potentially getting in the race as well. What sort of message does that maybe send about you or their views of your leadership?
Well, I really say the more the merrier. I mean, they think they did a good job, and I think a lot.
Now, remember, Trump says the more the merrier for the primary, because the more people that are in the polling, the better Trump does. The more the non-Trump vote is split, the better it is for Trump. That's why Trump wants a bunch of people running.
Usually I got rid of them. I'd say you're fired and get somebody else. But we had great people.
Fired.
When you think of the economy we built, when you think that I rebuilt the military, I knocked out ISIS. I did so many different things.
The military, the cupboards were bare when Trump came in.
Trump!
All right, so here comes Trump. We are going to watch this live. Thank you to Ghost Rooster for the Twitch Prime subscription. And a huge thank you to Juan Morales, who just signed up on my website. Folks, we will watch the speech. If we are at 100 website members by the time it's over, we'll open up phone lines. I want to hear your reactions to what happens here. This is going to be a doozy. That's for damn sure. And remember, today's coupon code is CPAC Trash, because that's what we're watching. CPAC Trash is the coupon code. You go to joinpacman.com. I'll see it pop up. The bar will fill up, and then hopefully when this is over, we will open the phone lines. And by the way, if we get to 250, I will shave half my mustache and do the Monday show with only half a mustache. I kind of hope it doesn't happen, to be perfectly frank. It seems like it would be a little embarrassing for me, but I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. This is going to be very painful. Couple super chats. David, it was the crime of wokeism. Right. That was the crime that took place. A buddy of mine I served with in the Marines is ex-MAGA. He's from East Palestine. We're both watching your stream up here in Cleveland. Give a shout out to Austin, sir. Austin, big shout out to you. And Charlie says, Trump is likely to go off the rails. Please have the mercy ban hammer. Yeah, if this becomes too much for some people, we can give out a mercy ban. Okay, so just ask the moderators and then we can ban you just if it becomes too much. But my preference would be stick around, get a membership at joinpacman.com, and then call in and tell me how horrifying it was when we open the phone lines a little bit later, okay? And I won't forget the men who died. And of course, it's completely credible that Trump, rich guy from Queens, loves country music. That's a completely believable thing, as all of you know. And defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love it. Jody is sending a super chat for some funds for earplugs. Yeah, this is really going to be nuts. Trump expected to slam Republicans.
Thank you. And we will ban men. Well, thank you very much, and I'm thrilled to be back at CPAC with thousands of great and true American patriots, and that's what you are. I want to start by thanking Matt and Mercedes Schlapp and everyone at the...
No mention of Matt being accused of pummeling the junk of Herschel Walker aide? That's strange.
event. It really has been something over the years. I also want to... We have so many people here. I'm going to leave out some, but they'll understand. We have a lot of Congress, a lot of Senate, a lot of everything, but we'll do a few words and a few names. Diana Harshbarger. Thank you, Diana, Congresswoman. Mike Collins.
China.
Elise Stefanik. I call her the rocket ship. Where's Elise? She's a rocket. Thank you, Elise. Jason Smith, friend of mine, great guy.
A rhino
Thank you,
named Mitt
Jason.
Romney.
Wesley Hunt. Corey Mills. Dr. Ronnie Jackson. He's a doctor. He's an admiral. Where's Ronnie
Kwame
Jackson?
Vive.
He said I'm the
Come on,
healthiest man ever to be president by far. Said if I wouldn't eat junk food, I'd live 200 years. Where is he? He's the greatest.
Suchin
We love you, Ronnie.
Tendulkar.
He had a lot of things under his belt. Another one who's a serious character but a great guy. You got to know him. He's a great guy. Matt Gaetz.
Virat Kohli.
Thank you, Matt. Great guy. He's a brave guy. And another brave person. She started off very slow, very, very slow. She's a low-key person. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Marjorie. A good location, Marjorie.
Marjorie.
A friend of mine, a man who's terrific, almost won for governor of New York, could have done it, but so many people have moved out of New York, it gets tougher. But he's a terrific guy, great lawyer, too, and he's a strong guy. You know, he stopped somebody coming at him with a
Big,
knife.
strong
I don't
guy.
know. He grabbed that guy's hand. He looked pretty tough, and he drove him to the ground. Lee Zeldin. Where's Lee?
Sure.
Where's Lee? Hi, Lee. Thank you. Good job, Lee. West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrissey. Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost. Thank you, Dave.
Now, many of you might be worried this is the end of the speech. No, Trump just started the speech by listing people's names.
Matt. A friend of mine who knows the border, knows more about illegal immigration than the next 10 people combined, Stephen Miller. Stephen. Hi, Steve. Great. Good to have you here. One of my favorite generals, a guy who's just great. He's got a lot of common sense and a lot of smarts.
Douglas
and he's been doing a
MacArthur.
lot of television lately, and he does a fantastic job. General Keith Kellogg. Thank you, Keith.
Pretty weird so far.
A very popular man in South America, very, very popular in Brazil, the former president of Brazil. President Bolsonaro.
Trump loves those authoritarians, huh? Yeah. Pretty vile stuff already.
I don't know. You beat all these U.S. politicians. That's pretty good. And his son, who's a friend of mine, Brazilian Chamber of Deputies, Eduardo Bolsonaro.
Dear God. Truly horrible people.
Hi, Eduardo. Great job you're doing. Just got reelected. And somebody that we really like in this room, I think. I certainly like him a lot. He had a lot of courage. Very smart guy. James O'Keefe.
Oh, my
Where's
God.
that?
Oh, dear God. How vile is that?
Thank you, James. Good guy. As we gather today, our country and our movement, the greatest political movement in the history of our country. There's nobody going to even question it. Even the fake news media. That's a lot of fake news back there.
I question it.
And by the way, I want to thank the fire department. Look at these people. They're up the rafters. Thank you, fire department. But the greatest in our history, most important battle in our lives is taking place right now as we speak.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to announce I am the most important and best person in the history of the United States.
and want to absolutely destroy it. The sinister forces trying to kill America have done everything they can to stop me, to silence you, and to turn this nation into a socialist dumping ground for criminals, junkies, Marxists, thugs,
Big,
radicals,
massive
and
dumps.
dangerous
Dumps.
refugees that no other
They call
country
them
wants.
dumps.
No other country wants them. If those opposing us succeed, our once beautiful USA will be a failed country that no one will even recognize, a lawless, open borders, crime-ridden, filthy communist nightmare. That's what it's going, and that's where it's going. I used to say that we will never be a socialist country. I said it oftentimes. I said it once at the State of the Union address, and people didn't understand what I was saying.
Well, Trump doesn't know what socialism is.
And I was right, because that train has passed the station long ago of socialism.
We are now a socialist country.
Came close to stopping, frankly. We're now in a Marxism state of mind, a communism state of mind.
Sir, could you name one Marxist in a position of power?
Nation in decline. Our enemies are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones who can stop them. They know that. This room, so important, the people in this room. They know that we can defeat them. They know that we will defeat them, but they're not coming after me. They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. That's all I'm doing. I'm standing in their way. Hold on, I'm coming. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm standing before you, because we are going to finish what we started. We started something that was a miracle.
Yeah.
We're going to complete the mission. We're going to see this battle through to ultimate victory. We're going to make America great again.
Again? Right.
With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers. They are people that don't get it, although in some cases they get it. They get it for their wallets. But we can't do that. We can't let that happen. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists.
There are really none of any of those. Let me know in the chat, is he going to bring the teach transgender line to this speech? What do you think?
Elections, no voter ID. We will beat the Democrats. We will rout the fake news media. We will expose and appropriately deal with the rhinos. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House.
A rhino named Mitt Romney.
And we will liberate America from these villains and scoundrels once and for all. When we started this journey, a journey like there has never been before, there's never been anything like this.
Right.
We had a Republican Party that was ruled by freaks, neocons, globalists, open border zealots, and fools. But we are never going back to the party of Paul Ryan, Karl Rove, and Jeb Bush.
Wow. Whoa. Hold on a second. You might meet some of those freaks, sir.
We're not going back to people that want to destroy our great social security system. Even some in our own party. I wonder who that might be. That want to raise the minimum age of Social Security to 70, 75, or even 80 in some cases.
He's talking about DeSantis.
And that are out to cut Medicare to a level that it will no longer be.
So he's talking about DeSantis. It's not a fair characterization of what DeSantis wanted to do, but he is talking about DeSantis.
You have to remember that. You heard it here first. We are never going back to a party that wants to give unlimited money to fight foreign wars that are endless wars, that are stupid wars.
Wow, George W. Bush attack.
But at the same time demands that we cut veterans' benefits and retirement benefits at home. Our soldiers will no longer live in the streets of our city. We have cities where our soldiers, our great soldiers, are living on concrete. They're living on asphalt. We will take care of our soldiers. There has never been a time like this. Illegal immigrants come in.
He did nothing for soldiers, by the way.
In the Waldorf Astoria and many other of the greatest hotels anywhere in the world. But our soldiers, we do nothing for them.
True.
They sleep out at night and they freeze. They freeze in the cold, and they die in
Did you guys hear some kind of someone talking there in the back? That was weird.
Illegally are in beautiful hotel suites, perhaps watching us on television right now. We were taking care of our soldiers just a short while ago, but we don't do that anymore. But we'll start doing it again. Our soldiers are very special to us.
When I think about empathy for the homeless and for veterans, I think of Trump right away.
That town, that city, that village, prior to worrying about the rest of the world, we're taking care of the problems of the rest of the world that they're not taking care of themselves. They have us put up the money. You know what I'm talking about. If you look at Ukraine, and we all feel so badly about it, but why isn't NATO putting up dollar for dollar with us? We put up $140 billion, and they put up just a tiny fraction of that. And, you know, we all want to see success, but it's far more important to them than it is to us because of that location. We are never going to be a country ruled by entrenched political dynasties in both parties, rotten special interests, China-loving politicians, of which there are many. You listening to this, Mitch McConnell? Are you listening?
Oh, boy.
China all the time. China all the time. And a militant left-wing news media that's either frightened of telling the truth or is truly evil and bad. I don't know.
Whoa.
I think in many ways they're frightened. But you never really know which. We are not going back to this.
Trump taking a sort of tear everything down approach here, which I have to tell you I like.
Not ever. And thank you, Mark Levin, for being here tonight.
And by the way, to be clear, it's insanely dangerous rhetoric. I like that Trump is self-owning to this degree.
Very important voice. Stay healthy, Mark. We can't lose you. Just stay healthy. Stay healthy, Mark. We're not going to lose you. In 2016, we took away the power of this corrupt political class, and we did more in 4 years than any administration in the history of our country. If you look at what we did, we shut down the illegal foreign invasion at our borders and achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. We deported illegal criminal aliens by the tens of thousands. MS-13, taking them out by the thousands. We set records every single week. We were cleaning up our country. I smashed the false idols of the free trade fanatics. These are fools, or they're getting very rich, probably the second. And left the China lobby reeling from our historic tariffs and taxes that we charge them.
Remember, it's the American companies importing the Chinese good that paid the tariffs. He still doesn't understand how tariffs work.
When no other president had gotten even 10 cents, not one president got anything from them. Our trade deficits were $500, $600, $700 billion a year. Billion, think of it, dollars a year. Not sustainable by any country. They built their military, and they have a very powerful military with the money that we gave them. How stupid are we? I was the only president in modern history who did not have any new wars. No new wars. I finished some old ones.
He didn't finish any old wars that I'm aware of. Getting sweaty already, huh?
Remember when the Democrats and my Republican opponents would often look at me during the debates or whatever, and they'd say, no, he's going to bring us into World War III because it's a personality type. They said I had the personality. No, I had the personality type that kept us out of wars because people knew that they weren't going to mess around with us. That's why I
They were like, this guy's nuts.
We were strong, we were safe, and I told delinquent foreign nations, they were delinquent, they weren't paying their bills, that if they wanted our protection, they had to pay up, and they had to pay up now. And they did. They paid $450 billion as soon as I said, no, I won't be protecting you if you don't pay. We truly had a policy of peace through strength. This was a serious, powerful policy, and we didn't have to lose our loved ones fighting wars in countries that nobody's ever heard of. I stood firm against the forces of
Countries Trump and many of his followers have never heard of.
to topple statues of our great heroes in Washington, D.C. We arrested them. They were knocking down the most beautiful artwork, the most beautiful statues of great heroes. They didn't even know who they were doing. They just wanted anarchy, and I passed and signed an executive order. Anybody that does that gets 10 years in jail with no negotiation. It's not 10, but it turns into 3 months. And it's an incredible thing that stopped right away. You know, they were heading to the Jefferson Memorial. They wanted to take out Thomas Jefferson. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think we're going to let that happen. But we passed it. It was a very old law, and we found it. One of my very good legal people, along with...
Wait, you passed it or you found it? Which one is it?
I don't know if you want to try and bring this back. I said, I do.
You brought it back.
And as soon as we passed it, that was the end. It just stopped. It's amazing. It's a miracle. We banned transgender insanity from our military. And we will ban men. And signed the world's first ban on critical race theory long before anybody had even heard of the term.
Trump still is trying to figure out what it even means.
It's good. When Biden came back in, this guy came in and he put everything right back in place where it was. We were paying these people hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in salary, among our highest paid people, to teach all of this nonsense to our military yet. But it was all out. It was all done. There's only one president in history who has ever taken on the entire corrupt establishment in Washington.
Who?
And when we win in 2024, we will do it again, even stronger, faster, and better, because
Has Trump told more than 100 lies or fewer than 100 lies so far? Let me know in the chat.
Because now I am experienced and I know the people of Washington. I didn't know them. I was from New York. I only came here 17 times, they said. I read that in the fake news, so probably it's not true, but it's the best I could do. And I never stayed over. I was from New York, but
he never slept.
I now
over.
know the good ones, the bad ones, the weak ones, the strong ones. I know them all. I know the people that have to do the job and can do the job. A lot of them are in this room right now. And as I did for 4 incredible years, I will put America first every single time, every single day.
All right.
From the beginning, we have been attacked by a sick and sinister opposition, the radical left, communists, the bureaucrats, the fake news media, the big money special interests, the corrupt Democrat prosecutors. Oh, they're after me for so many things. Oh, those prosecutors. Some are racists. Some hate our country. They all hate me. They'll get me for anything, anything. You put a comma in this paragraph. Why did you do that? I don't really know.
Yep.
The partisan and all
It's basically investigating Trump for grammar errors. That's all that's going on.
Machine that spends a lot of money on the prosecutors, by the way. The Antifa thugs who are allowed to roam the streets while we have people that in many cases are great patriots, great patriots, saying prayers every night, playing our national anthem every day, and they're sitting in a jail nearby, rotting away, and being...
He's defending the Trump rioters right now, just so everybody's clear.
...in this country before, except maybe me. And Marjorie, you've been so fantastic on that issue. Where's Marjorie? You've been so fantastic on that issue. And Elise, and Matt. People that love our country, have been so great on that issue. And the perverts who use the names of Washington and Lincoln to buy millions of dollars in ads to say bad, libelous, and incorrect things about us.
Is something going on in the room?
I didn't know this was a rally, Matt. It really is a rally when you... by the way, thank you for that beautiful straw poll. That was a big win. Thank you.
Oh, man. It's going to be a long year and a half, guys.
Our enemies are lunatics and maniacs. They cannot stand that they do not own me. I don't need them. I don't need anything about them. I don't need their money. They cannot steer me. They cannot shake me. And they will never, ever control me. And they will never, ever, therefore, control you. At the end of the day, anyone else will be intimidated, bought off, blackmailed, or ripped to shreds. I alone will never retreat, and that is why we must stand together and charge. We have to charge.
First glitch of the night, I think.
A beautiful life before I did this. I lived in luxury. I had everything. People said to me, "Are you sure you want to do it, sir?" I said, "Oh, this will be so amazing." Sir. What the hell did you get me into? I didn't know the word subpoena. I didn't know the word grand jury, those words, grand jury. I didn't know that they want to lynch you for doing nothing wrong.
Whoa.
I didn't know they want to lynch you
a
for
second.
doing a great job. I didn't know they want to put you away because your poll numbers are better than anybody they've seen in years. And then they go with the disinformation campaign. First
Polls
of all,
he doesn't believe, obviously.
we're leading every Republican by massive numbers. And very importantly, perhaps more importantly, we're leading Biden by a lot. And we're leading Kamala by a lot. And every time the polls go up higher and higher, the prosecutors get crazier and crazier. We got to stop these guys. Says we have to stop Trump now. We got to stop him now because we can't stop him at the ballot box. You know, they tried that in 2016. How did that work out? Not too good. And we actually, and I have to say this, I hope Fox doesn't turn off, but we did much better in 2020 than we did in 2016.
Oh, he's going after Fox here, man.
But we have no choice. If we don't do this, our country will be lost forever. People are tired of rhinos and globalists. They want to see America first. That's what they want.
Can anyone in the chat name a worse president than Donald Trump?
They know it. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. This is it. Either they win or we win. And if they win, we no longer have a country. And I promise you this. If you put me back in the White House, that beautiful building, but I live in very beautiful buildings, it's not that reason. Beautiful. That building wasn't the easiest building to live in with what I was put through. And you know, I get a lot of credit. A lot of people say, "How do you do it, sir?" I had a man come up to me the other day, one of the toughest, strongest people that you can imagine.
Big,
you
strong
all know
guy.
his name. Big businessman, a lot of money, a lot of success, tough as hell. And he said, "Could I ask you a question, President?" What? A friend of mine, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President. "Could I ask you a question, President?" What? "How do you do it? How do you do it? Every day they send you subpoenas every day. They're after you. They're looking to take you down at levels that nobody's ever put up with before. 7 years I've gone through this. We beat them all, but it continues. And he said to me, seriously, how do you do it? I could never do it. This is one of the toughest guys. I said, maybe you could. He said, nope, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning, but I do it for you, and that's what I'm doing it for.
This is a real story. This really happened.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you very much. And if you put me back in the White House, their reign is over. Their reign will be over. And they know it. And America will be a free nation once again. We're not a free nation right now.
We need to be
We don't
liberated,
have free
yeah.
press. We don't have free anything. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today, I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not going to let this happen.
A bit delusional. A hair delusional.
I will totally obliterate the deep state. I will fire.
Conspiracy theories. QAnon is loving it. This is chillingly dangerous. I hope people understand that.
The unelected bureaucrats and shadow forces who have weaponized our justice system like it has never been weaponized before. It's sick. These are sick people. And I will put the people back in charge of this country again. The people will be back in charge of our country. The Biden administration is the most corrupt administration in American history.
Why?
Hunter Biden is a criminal and nothing happened to him. Nothing happened.
He has nothing to do with the administration.
Criminal and nothing ever seems to happen to him. Because, you know, say what you want, but the Democrats stick together. They don't have Mitt Romney. They don't have guys like that. They stick together. How's Mitt Romney doing? Not too good. I could name plenty of others, too.
A rhino named Mitt
But they do
Romney.
stick together, whether you like them or not, and many of us don't, but maybe someday we get together. You know, a question was asked of me just before COVID came in. They said, the country is coming together. Do you think this is real?
Sir.
And I said to myself, it is real. It's amazing. I was getting calls from radical left people, the nicest calls. It's amazing because we had the best employment numbers in history. We had the best economy in history. We were lapping China. China was supposed to have taken over as the world's largest economy, and we were actually increasing at a level that nobody thought possible. We were doing great. And then you had COVID come in, and a lot of things had to happen, and we did.
This is exhausting. I'm with you guys, yeah.
Did a great job with COVID, and then gave back something very strong. But we were really bringing this country together. Had COVID not come in, I think you would have had a much different, because a lot of people want to know, can we all get along together? And if I didn't have that experience, I would say no, because the thought process is so different. But we were starting to really get along. And then we had the disaster as...
Now, you might not remember that because it didn't happen.
I want to be open, and I want to be accurate. But Biden openly held back $1 billion all taxpayer money, for the government of Ukraine. Remember he said, until they fired a prosecutor. When they fired that prosecutor, and this prosecutor was after Hunter and the company that was paying him a fortune of money. Remember Joe Biden stood up and said, and I looked at them and I said, you're not getting that $1 billion. You're not, until you get rid of the... I can't believe he did that. Can you imagine if I did that? I wouldn't be here right now, I suspect. And nobody picks it up. Nobody wants to pick it up. It doesn't get any worse. It doesn't get any worse than that. Although Maybe it does. It's called the laptop from hell. And yet they go after me over and over again about something that's not even a crime. They make up Russia, 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 which was a plan made up by crooked Hillary Clinton, Adam Shifty Schiff, and
I have
the
bingo.
Democrats,
I don't know about
the
you guys.
DNC.
I'll be back in 5.
They then made up a fake phone call. They took a phone call that was perfect, and they pretended that I said things that weren't even in there. They actually imitated. Remember Schiff? He stood up in Congress, and he repeated the call like I was a gangster. Over and over again, quid pro quo. Remember the term, quid pro quo? But there wasn't. I called downstairs at the White House. I said, listen, do we have that call taped? Because there's no way I said those things. And they called back and tell me, yes, sir, we do, essentially. We had transcripts of the call. Thank goodness we had transcripts, because these guys they're sick people, and they were looking to do a number. I'll tell you how bad they are. So, and I tell this story seldom, but it's a strong story, Monica. Thank you very much for the great job you do, by the way. What a defender she is. But they're so bad. So they come up with this Russia, Russia, Russia hoax. And they know it's a hoax. They know it's a hoax. I know it's a hoax, too. But they know it's a hoax. And Adam Shifty Schiff comes out from a very secretive room, intelligence committee or whatever, and he meets the press right in front. The press is going crazy. They're going crazy because they'll do anything to hurt Trump. Anything. They're evil people in many cases. Some cases, they're great people. But a lot of evil people. And he stands up before a microphone. Now, this is a man who knows it's a fake story. Russia, Russia, Russia. They checked 6 years of phone calls. Millions of calls were made from my office. Not one call to Russia. Not one call. They were surprised. They weren't surprised. But some people were surprised. But he stood up before the microphones. And he said, Donald Trump Jr. will go to prison for what he has done with Russia. My son is going to go to prison. He said, my son's going to go to prison for what he's done with Russia. And my son didn't have anything to do with it. And he knew it was a fake story. And when it was finally revealed, now the Times, the Washington Post, they all admit it was a fake story. We're trying to get the Pulitzer Prize taken away. They got Pulitzer Prizes. We're suing. You know what the prize says? For its concise and accurate reporting on the Russia, Russia, Russia event. And they have it actually totally wrong. Actually, Mark Levin should get a prize. And Greg Jarrett should get a prize. And even it's not his deal, Sean Hannity should get a prize. And frankly, Jesse should get a prize. Jesse should. And a lot of people, and I'll tell you, you know who should get a prize? Tucker should get a prize. Tucker Carlson. They're very strong. And we have numerous writers that should get it, but the ones that got it were the New York Times, certain reporters from the New York Times, and certain reporters from the Washington Post. They got the Pulitzer Prize, and they were exactly wrong. And now they've even admitted that it was a hoax. It was a total hoax, and they got the prize. But how bad is a person that stands before a big gaggle of press, and they just can't get enough, and says that my son is going to prison for something that he knows was a hoax? Only a really bad person would do that. But they then came in with Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine.
By the way, programming note, Adam Schiff will be on the show Tuesday.
Present himself at the hearings. It wasn't too pretty. But you know what? I'll say this. At least they came to the right conclusion. Because I was concerned they'd come to the conclusion. I think we have prosecutors now. They don't give a damn if you're guilty. They're looking at me in Atlanta on a perfect phone call. I said, even more perfect than my perfect call to Ukraine. That was a perfect call. This is even more perfect.
I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
Where's Hunter? Will there ever be a time when Joe Biden says, This thing with Hunter just isn't working out well. I'm starting to get a little angry at Hunter. Or when Hunter comes to him and says, Dad, we have a problem. What? What is it, son? Another one? Oh, son, you're a disaster, son. Son, you're a disaster.
What's funny is Joe Biden actually seems to love his kids.
And Joe looks at him and says, what's on it, son? What's on it? And Hunter looks back and he says, every single crime that you've ever committed, Dad. And hence it's called The Laptop from Hell. And Miranda Devine did a great book on that. And she actually thanked me. She said, I got the name from Trump. She told me, she said, I want to thank you for the name. I said, no charge. But she did a great job. Great book, The Laptop from Hell.
Why won't you, everybody in the chat is like, tell us the crimes. Why won't you guys just accept it? And also Obamagate, which was the biggest political crime of the 21st and 20th centuries. Just accept it. Trump said it. That's it.
Dangerous and violent cities in the United States. You have to see this. The United States, where killings are taking place at a number like nobody's ever seen. Right in Manhattan. And he's doing nothing about it. Nothing whatsoever. No cash bail for people that just kill people, knife them in the back, hit them over the head with a baseball bat, push them into subways when the train is right there. But this racist DA is being pushed by radical left Democrats, the fake news media, and the Department of Injustice to bring charges against me for now ancient no affair story of Stormy Horseface Daniels. No attraction. No affair. I call it no affair. Where there's no crime anyway, and charges have never been brought in such a case before. And this case has been looked by every prosecutor. They're all looking. They looked at it for years now. She was represented by Michael Avenatti. How's he doing? He's now in jail. And the whole thing is a complete con job. And she was ordered to pay me, a federal court ordered this.
Trump paid her off.
Of dollars. But they're still looking at it. They're still looking. And all they do is they cause anger and problems for our country because our people aren't going to take this stuff. It never ends. In the meantime, Hunter and Joe Biden skate. You know, they skate. They go away free. What's going on with that? I mean, that laptop is a disaster.
Find a crime, charge
this thing? How can it be possible? They're looking in Delaware. How's he doing? He's not the same guy that I have for the document hoax. I have a man, he's a total animal, known to be. And he's looking. In the meantime, Biden's guy that's looking. Don't forget, I had a very strong privilege as president. I was able to do things that he wasn't able to do as vice president and wasn't able to do as a senator. The Senate.
Imagine clapping for like executive privilege. It's weird.
I cannot believe it. But when you look at what happened, they're not even looking at him. They haven't even started. Congress and various radical left Democrat prosecutors, in an effort to stop me, go to the Supreme Court twice. They went twice, and the Supreme Court...
Can someone honestly explain to me why Trump's right eye is almost completely swollen shut? I never have gotten a satisfactory answer about that.
But they found nothing. They looked at 11 million pages of documents. It's a big company. It's a great company. Remember my taxes? We're after his taxes. 5 years I heard about my taxes. They came out about 2 months ago. Everyone said, wow, it's a great company he built. That's great. That's the end of it. No, right? And, you know, I had the biggest and most prestigious, one of them at least, law firms, accounting firms, doing all this stuff. I don't do it. They do it. You rely on these people. They do it. But I didn't hear one word. And how stupid am I telling you this story right now? Because now we got to find something in there. He made a typographical error. There's a revolution going on within the FBI because they don't want to be doing what they're being told to do because they know right from wrong. I'm talking about the people that work in the FBI. And they like me and they like you a lot. So many of them. A recent article in the Washington Post, of all papers, stated very succinctly that many did not want to raid Mar-a-Lago. They didn't want the agents. They said, that's terrible. But they were forced to do so by their Marxist radical left leadership.
Yes, including the director of the FBI who Trump had selected. Trump selected a Marxist to lead the FBI. Isn't that the best?
It's not supposed to work like that. Mark, when Nixon got impeached, it went down, right? It was a spiral down. He couldn't stop it. I got impeached, we went up. But the FBI people, they didn't want to do this. To those in the FBI that are with us, I want to thank you very much. I really do. I want to thank you. Stay strong. Stay strong. Help is coming. Then there's the racist DA from Atlanta, whose city is among the most violent and dangerous places per capita in the country. More murders than even Chicago per capita. It's totally out of control, and yet she has her kangaroo court focused on a perfect phone call that I made. Well,
you know what city's pretty damn dangerous per capita? Oklahoma City. Trump never mentions it. I wonder why.
Interviews and saying exactly what's going on in this one of many grand juries. Our opponents do anything they can to hurt me politically because they're afraid of me and they're afraid of you. That's what it is. But it's not supposed to work that way. The disinformation, people say they are great at disinformation. The one we want to run against is Trump. Do you ever hear that? Oh, we want to run against Trump. Even though I'm leading every one of these guys, and even though I won the second election, okay, I won it by a lot. You know, when they say Biden won, the smart people know that, didn't they? But right now we're way up. But they say, oh, we want to run against Trump. They always say that. They say that about everybody. When they have somebody that they don't want to run against.
Wait, so is it unique to Trump that they're saying that? Or do they say they want to run against everybody? Which of the two is it?
I mean, I got 75 million votes. I got more votes than any sitting president in history the second time. And we really did. We did a much better job than we did in 2016. 2020, we did better than 2016. But they say, we want to run against Trump. In the meantime, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to find just a single word, a sentence, anything to prosecute Trump because they don't want to run against me. That's what they say. We want to run against Trump. We'll do anything to run against Trump. They have the greatest line of bullshit of any group of people I've ever seen.
Tough guy.
Want to run against
Lost
Trump.
my 8 million votes, huh?
But at the same time, they send people from the Justice Department to the local DA's office in Manhattan. Do you know the Justice Department sent their top people to the Manhattan DA's office to help in the prosecution of Trump? This way, we have it a little bit away from Washington. It's local. Oh, we had nothing to do. But their top guy was put in that office to help prosecute Trump. How would you like to have my life? Would anybody like my life? But I still like it. But they want to try and find anything they can when they've already been exonerated. I've been exonerated many times. You take a look at what this meant. I mean, time after time. But all of this is happening for one single reason. They know that when we return to power, we will bring their lies and their corruption and their disinformation tumbling down.
Tumbling.
Getting back in the White House is their worst nightmare, but it is our country's only hope. It's our only hope. If we don't get back, now this country can't take it. Even the 2 years, and now fortunately it's less than that. It's hard to believe it's less. You used to say 4 years. A lot of people said, well, sir, the election was so bad. You'll be in 1 year. A lot of people in this room. You'll be back in 6 weeks, sir. But it's
It turns out there was no law that allowed for that.
System. But nobody else can do it but us. In recent weeks, I've been laying out a bold, detailed agenda for how we're going to complete this mission in our next term. I do weekly statements, and people are liking them. Today, I want to go through some of our big plans that I will do as the 47th President of the United States.
Okay.
Thank you. At the top of my list, we'll be stopping the slide into costly and never-ending wars. We've got to stop it. Can't keep spending hundreds of billions of dollars protecting people that don't even like us. Now, you know, in business, if you did that, what you do is you put up the money and then you say, but listen, we own half your country in case you win. You know, you take a piece of the upside, right? We get nothing. In fact, the opposite. We put up the money, and then after it's finished, assuming it's successful, let's say it's successful, they don't want to even talk to us. No, you have nothing to do with us. Get out of here. You have nothing. No. In business, you put up money, seed money, call it whatever you want. You end up owning the country by the time it's over. And the only reason they're doing well is we're giving them the greatest equipment that I bought, the greatest equipment ever made. And the only reason they're doing well with NATO is I raised $440 billion from countries that weren't paying anything. And the Secretary General Stoltenberg, a good man, he said it's one of the greatest jobs I've ever seen. I hope he still says that, but one of the greatest jobs. He said Obama would come and make a speech. Bush would come and make a speech, and then they'd leave. I came, I looked, I said, man, these people aren't paying. We're paying for the whole thing practically. Of the 28 countries at the time, only 8 were paid up. 20 weren't, including Germany. They paid a fraction of what they were supposed to be paying. And I said to them, either you pay or we're not going to protect you. And a man stood up, a president of a country stood up, and he said, sir, could I ask you a question? This was a round table with nobody in the room but the presidents, prime ministers, and dictators, okay? Some of them are all the same. But they stood up, and he stood up and said, sir, could I ask you a question?
Sir.
If we don't pay up, and if we get attacked by Russia, will you protect us, sir? I said, now you're not paid up, right? That's right. You're delinquent, right? Yes. I will not protect you from Russia. Sir, we'll send you a check tomorrow, sir. We'll send you a...
Does anyone in my audience believe that conversation happened?
Sent by overnight mail, sir. I promise you'll have it tomorrow. Now, if I said, like the stupid politicians say, absolutely will be, you know, Article 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, well, you're supposed to do it. But those articles all suppose that you're supposed to be paid up. But let's say I said the opposite. Yes, we will always protect you. And I took a lot of heat because they said, I'm not a good member. Actually, NATO wouldn't even exist if I didn't get them to pay up. But they paid up $449 billion or something, and that's the money they use. They're rich as hell right now. They spent an office building that cost $3 billion. It's like a skyscraper in Manhattan laid on its side. It's one of the longest buildings I've ever seen. And I said, you should have, instead of spending $3 billion, you should have spent $500 million building the greatest bunker you've ever seen, because Russia wouldn't even need an airplane attack. One tank, one shot through that beautiful glass building and it's gone. Same architect I used in Chicago, great architects, but they didn't have war in mind. But when things happened, that building would be gone in about 15 minutes. They should have spent a $500 million bunker, nice thick ceiling, 6 inches, 6 feet of concrete. And by the way, we have a great gentleman. Speaking of China, will you please stand up? Gordon, stand up, please. Gordon China.
Trump highlighting a neocon now. We will open phone lines when this is done if people want, if we get to 100 website members and Twitch subscribers.
And I'm just studying his face as I'm speaking, because people do like me to go off script a little bit, right? It's a little bit more risky, but it's more exciting. And I'm looking at Gordon and I'm saying, I hope he agrees with what I'm saying, but basically I'm saying exactly what you say. They're not out for our good, are they? They're not out for our good. And nobody ever taxed them like I did, and nobody ever took any money in like I did. 440 billion. We took in so much money from China. It's so incredible. So it's an honor to have you here. Really it is. I agree with almost everything you say. Almost everything. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Great job, both of you. I was the only president in decades that didn't have a war, but I completed wars that were already started, including defeating 100% of the ISIS caliphate.
We have to call that a war.
100%. I was also the only president where Russia didn't take over a country during my term. Russia.
Pretty deceptive, right? I mean, did nothing about Crimea from previously, and then also allowed Russia to establish and solidify its presence in the Donetsk and the Luhansk. So, little weird framing here.
At 10%, and President Xi believed it when I talked about Beijing. He probably said, I don't believe him, but there's a 10% chance we're not going to do anything. It's true. It's true. You have no idea. These conversations, I wish they could have been recorded, actually. People would think a lot of me. But with Bush, they invaded Georgia, right? With Obama, they took Crimea. Obama. With Biden, they're trying to take everything. And he won't even know they took it.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. What are they yelling?
And with me, they took nothing. Nothing. And I didn't really even have to threaten them very much. They understood me very well. I wanted them to understand me very well. They knew that they couldn't do it. Putin knew that. President Xi knew it too. Likewise, China now has its eyes strongly focused on Taiwan, and we could soon have a nuclear-armed Iran. That's the saddest thing of all, though, when we talk about Iran.
Trump got out of the Iran nuclear deal that Iran had abided by up until that point. Trump is the one to blame for this.
Iran. They said, no, we have to buy. We buy millions of barrels a year. And I said, you can't buy. You have to buy from somebody else. No, we'll buy. I said, good. We're not going to do any more trading with China. We're going cold turkey. We will promise you not to buy from Iran. Okay, that was the end of that. That was a conversation I had. I said, if you buy from Iran any oil, we're not going to do any business. Or if for some reason we do, we're going to put 100% tariff on every single thing that you sell into the United States. And they didn't buy any oil. And nobody was buying oil, and they were in a position, had the election not turned out the way it did, they were in a position where they were going to give us everything. We were going to make a great deal. But now they're rich again. China is buying unlimited amounts of oil from Iran, unlimited amounts, and other places. And we've done something else that's terrible. From the time I'm a young man, I learned never allow Russia and China to get together, to wed. Never, ever allow it. And we've not only allowed it, we've made them bosom buddies. We've made them, we forced them together. And you can add another group in there, a nuclear-armed Iran. So the three of them are now together. That should have never been allowed to happen, would have never happened with me. And it was all over oil, our stupid oil policy. We're not going to drill. We have more oil in the United States than any country in the world, including Saudi Arabia. People don't realize it. In Alaska, I approved a site. We all know what the site is. Probably the biggest in the world. And the Democrats said, no, it's over. They turned it down. Ronald Reagan tried to do it. Every president, Republican, and some Democrats tried to do it. They couldn't get it done. I got it done. And the first day in office, the Secretary of the Interior for Biden signed off on it, where they're going to not allow it to happen. Bigger, probably, than Saudi Arabia. And if we had that without even my talking to Putin, oil would have been at $40, $35, maybe $30 a barrel. So he wouldn't have even had the money to prosecute a war against Ukraine. He wouldn't have done it anyway, and that's not even what I'm saying from previous.
Trump increasingly struggling syntactically and grammatically, which is a sign maybe that he's having a problem here.
And there would have been no obliterated cities that can never be rebuilt. Can never rebuild those cities. Russia never would have pulled the trigger. This is the most dangerous time in the history of our country, and Joe Biden is leading us into oblivion.
Oblivion.
He's leading us into oblivion. You know, we all smile when he falls downstairs and things. It's cute. When he falls off his bicycle, isn't this good? You know what amazed me? That the reporters didn't catch him when the bike was going down. They're standing right next to him. They let him fall. It's amazing. I'm surprised. But when he makes statements that are so bad, when he gets out of Afghanistan and takes the soldiers, takes the soldiers out first. And you know, in Afghanistan, for 18 months, I had a talk with Abdul, who was the leader of Afghanistan.
Here we go.
I said, Abdul, I got a lot of criticism. Remember when I was talking to him, everyone said, oh, he's talking to the leader of the Taliban. That's right, because our soldiers were being killed, a lot of them by snipers. And I didn't want that. I don't want to deal with the problems, and I don't want to talk to the mothers and fathers, who I would speak to a lot. I don't want to talk to them and tell them their son was shot through the head from 2,000 yards away by a sharpshooter. They have very good sharpshooters. So I spoke to this man. His name was Abdul, and I said, Abdul, don't kill any more of our soldiers.
I showed him a picture of his house.
If you kill our soldiers, we're going to hit you harder than any country has ever been hit in the history of the world. And he called me Your Excellency. He was, you know, I got along with him. He's still there. He's still the leader of the Taliban. But now he's got $85 billion worth of our equipment that I bought. $85 billion. I said to General Milley, I want every piece of equipment. Sir, I think it would be cheaper to leave it behind, sir. That's when I lost faith. That, and when he didn't like me holding up a Bible in front of a church, I said, this guy's not with us. This is not a smart guy. But he didn't like it. I said, I want every single, because I was getting out of, but I would have kept Bagram, because Bagram's 1 hour away from where China, forget about Afghanistan, where China makes its nuclear weapons. 1 hour away. The biggest, most powerful runways in the world. We built it many years ago for tens of billions of dollars. And we gave it away one night. We just left the lights on. We did leave the dogs behind. Everyone says, oh, did they take the dogs? Because they're dog lovers, right? No, we left the dogs behind.
Treat them like
the
a
Taliban
dog.
doesn't like dogs, by the way, not at all. But we left in disgrace. It was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, in my opinion. And it probably is what caused Putin to say, wow, Trump is gone. This is a great time to take over Ukraine, right? It's probably...
Think of how delusional that is. Biden getting out of Afghanistan was the most embarrassing moment in the history of the country, and it made Putin think, hey, I should invade Ukraine.
World War III, very easily. And you're going to have World War III, by the way. You're going to have World War III. If something doesn't happen fast, you're going to have World War III.
This is really
And by
bad.
the way, just to conclude that little story, when Abdul heard me say that, he said, Your Excellency, thank you so much for telling me that. He said, but why? I thought it was a very interesting play on words. I've never heard it. I use it now sometimes myself. I liked it. He said, but why, Mr. President, do you send me pictures of my home? Said that. I said, you'll have to ask your wives that question. And we didn't have,
this guy's
Mark will tell you this, we didn't
He's out
have
of his
one
mind.
soldier killed.
Oh my
In
God.
18 months, not one soldier was killed. Not one soldier, right? In fact, it was so good.
This is so bad. It just makes you cringe.
Why do you call him? I said, well, you know, they asked Jesse James, the great bank robber from many years ago, why is it that you robbed banks? Why? I've had more investigations than Jesse James, Billy the Could. Well, I spoke to Abdul because that's where the problem was. But we went 18 months until that horrible day when we lost 13 soldiers. And you know, the thing that nobody ever talks about, we lost 13, we lost $85 billion worth of the greatest military equipment in the world. Goggles, night goggles that are so good, so sophisticated, better than anything we have, brand new, never even taken out of the box. And you know, the Afghans, and they're actually very good, the Taliban are good fighters, Afghan, because it's really very much the same thing, frankly. They didn't fight good for us, but they fought good for themselves, and they took a lot of money from us. I asked...
Quite a historical analysis.
We got to get out of there. They've been there for 20 years. We got to get out of there. Sir, they're fighting for their country, sir. I said, that's right. I guess they are. Then about 2 days later, I was thinking about it. I said, I don't know why, because, you know, we had more blue on green, green on blue, where they'd get their gun and then they'd shoot our master sergeants and our sergeants that are training them. I said, why are they fighting for us if we've never had this problem to the extent that we had it? But he said that. He said, they're fighting. And I said, are we paying them a lot of money to fight? And I had it checked. Yeah, we were paying billions and billions and billions of dollars to these Afghan soldiers. Tens.
Almost completely lost his train of thought there.
I said, they're not fighting, General. I called them back in. They're not fighting because they love us or they love their country. They're fighting because they're the highest paid soldiers in the world. We're basically bribing them to fight. And they didn't fight, but the Taliban did fight. Same people, but the Taliban did.
They didn't fight, but the Taliban did. He really has a way with words, really weaves a story where you feel like you're in it.
And he actually said that. They didn't kill anybody, I will say that. They didn't kill anybody for 18 months. And you know what happened? His people start screaming, don't say that! Because that's a good thing for us. But then when we left, we lost soldiers, 13 killed.
Imagine sitting there in the 7th row and listening to this stuff now going on an hour and going, man, this is really great stuff.
There that we've lost contact with. It's a rough place. But they don't talk about the fact that many of these soldiers were absolutely destroyed. Destroyed. They lost their arms. They lost their legs. They had their face blown off. And they were absolutely destroyed. And they don't talk about that. They don't talk about it.
They who?
And it's very sad because these people, many of them, we lost 13. They died. But nobody ever talks about the gravity of the injuries to these soldiers. And it's a very sad thing. I got it down to 2,500 people. I was the one that got it down, but we were going to get out with dignity, with strength. We were going to be respected and admired. And I could just see Abdul. They took out the soldiers first. You don't take the soldiers first. You take the soldiers out last. You get the Americans out first because they feared our soldiers.
Really inspiring speech here.
Teens. And now they own them. Think of it. You get the soldiers and they go out last. You take our American citizens out. You then take our equipment out. And Millie said to me, sir, it's cheaper to leave the equipment than it is to take it out. I said, let me ask you, General, so we have a plane that costs $100 million brand new. You want to leave? Yes, sir, it's cheaper, sir. I thought he was, you know, another April Fool's deal, right? I said, no, General, you fill it up with a tank of jet fuel. You fly it back home, or at a minimum, you fly it into Pakistan or some semi-friendly country and you take it from there, right? No, sir. I actually told them I want the tents. You know, the tents, they have big canvas, incredible tents with the. I want every piece of steel. I want every screw. I want every.
Trump loves canvas.
I want every tractor. I want every Jeep. You know what they did? They left 700,000 rifles and guns. 700,000. They left 70,000 vehicles, 70,000, many of them brand new, many of them armor-plated, where they have 6 inches of steel in the bottom. Cost you millions of dollars to build. And they left that all behind. There's not a car company, used car lot, new car lot, anywhere in the world that would have 70,000 vehicles. I said to a friend of mine who's one of the Arrigo in Florida, great guy. I said, how many cars? I think he's like the biggest in Florida. They did very well, thank you. But the biggest, I said, how many cars would you have? I don't know, a couple of hundred extra, a couple of hundred. And he's like, a big one, real big one, runs a great operation. 70,000 vehicles. So now I read the other day that the Taliban, that Afghanistan, is the second largest seller of arms anywhere in the world because they're selling everything that we gave them. And by the way, as I'm speaking, do I see cash? Is that cash? Ooh, my eyes are better than I thought. Is that cash? Ooh.
Presumably referring to Kash Patel, another conspiracy theorist.
Wow. I better check with Gordon, and I better check this audience a little more closely. I'm going to miss a lot of people in here. Great. 2 real patriots. They really are 2 great people. Thank you very much. But they're the second largest to us. They're the second largest arms dealer in the world. They're selling off all the beautiful brand new equipment we gave them. The Apache helicopter, which is the best in the world, they gave 1 to Russia, gave it. They gave 1 to China. And they're very good. They take it apart and they reduplicate it. They take it apart, they reduplicate it because they've never been able to build one like we have. Now they're able to do it because they're very smart, actually. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It will be settled quickly. Quickly. I will get the problem solved, and I will get it solved in rapid order, and it will take me no longer than 1 day. I know exactly what to say to each of them. I got along with very well.
I know you all know about all of Trump's absurd failed predictions from 2016. He seems to be making even more absurd predictions for 2024. Remember, it was wall with Mexico that they will pay for. Jared will solve Israeli-Palestinian conflict in 1 year. Replacement for Obamacare. None of it happened.
Right? Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2 until I came along. I started talking about Nord Stream 2. I had to go call it the pipeline because nobody knew what I was talking about. But I ended it. It was dead. I told every company that had sucked into it that you're not doing business with the United States of America if you go forward and allow this to be built. It was done. On day 1, Biden came in. And this is the biggest economic development project. This is the most important project that Russia has. On day 1, this is the biggest money they could ever make. There's nothing they could ever do to compete with this. This is the biggest pipeline in the world. Going to supply Europe, Germany in particular. On day 1, Biden came in. And what did he do? He approved the Nord Stream pipeline. And then they'd say, Trump was soft on Russia. I was the one that gave 1,000 javelins. That's the anti-tank busters. And they are vicious, because I looked at those tanks, and they got hit 1 shot, and that was the end of that. You wouldn't want to be in those tanks.
Right.
But I was the one that supplied the javelins. They supplied the bed sheets. Do you remember? They supplied the bed sheets, and maybe even some pillows from Mike, who's sitting right over here. Where the hell is Mike?
We're doing a class action lawsuit against all machines.
Some pillows over there? Maybe. But they supplied the bed sheets, they call it. We supplied the sheets. They didn't want to get involved. I gave the javelins. And then they say Trump was weak on Russia. Disinformation. Again, it's disinformation, right? That's all they're good at. Cheating on elections and disinformation. Instead of spending hundreds of billions of dollars to defend the borders of distant foreign countries, Under my leadership, we will defend our borders first. Three years ago, we had the safest border in the history of our country, and I will quickly do that again. As you know, I built hundreds of miles of wall and completed that task as promised. And then I began to add even more in areas that...
Remember, the task he promised was border wall, entire U.S.-Mexico border, paid for by Mexico by the end of his first term. None of that happened.
Wall was sitting there waiting to be installed, the easiest part. And Biden, they took it away so that Texas and Arizona couldn't use it. Texas and Arizona said, could we use that wall? We'll finish it right up. And they said no. And they actually took it away and they hid it. They put it in a hiding area, which of course was revealed pretty quickly. All you have to do is send a couple of helicopters up. But they wouldn't let them use it. Under my leadership, we will seal it up and expand that wall till we have total control.
A reasonable question would be, sir, the promise you made in the first term about the wall failed miserably. Why should we believe that you would do it now?
Well, sir, if you approve this budget, we'll give it to you next year. I said, all right, that's okay. So I waited, then they didn't give it, you know? And yet Mitch McConnell approves $5.5 trillion for Green New Deal garbage. It's a disgrace. But I took it from the military because I considered it an invasion. So, Marjorie, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take it right out of the military because they're invading our country. And I got it built, and we did a great job. We did it quickly, and we used the Army Corps of Engineers. They were fantastic. Before Biden came into office, we had illegal immigration at a record low. Refugees were at the lowest level in history. Human trafficking, women and children, was at the lowest in 30 years. And drug dealers were finding the U.S. border a very inhospitable place to be. It was very inhospitable. In my last year, less drugs came through the southern border than had been seen in many, many decades. We weren't playing games. Now we have complete chaos. Fentanyl is pouring in. Families are being wiped out, destroyed. And there's death everywhere, all caused by incompetence. Millions of illegal aliens are stampeding across our border.
This has been a long speech.
It's been shut down. Everyone is overstaying their visas. Nobody even thinks about reporting it anymore.
We're already up to 73 minutes, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down.
Refugee numbers are through the roof, and spies and terrorists are infiltrating our country totally unchecked like never before. When I'm back in the White House, the very first reconciliation bill I will sign will be for a massive increase in Border Patrol and a colossal increase in the number of ICE deportation officers. And I want to thank the Border Patrol. These are incredible people. And I want to thank ICE, and in particular, I want to thank Brandon Judd, Border Patrol, and Tom Homan, Central Casting. He's Central Casting. Under my leadership, we will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. Other countries are emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions, and sending all of their problems right into their dumping ground.
That is not happening, period. There is no evidence of that.
Also emptying out their mental institutions and, to use a strong couple of words, insane asylum. Insane asylum, that's where, anybody see Silence of the Lamb? That's where they come from, insane asylum. That's a stronger word than a mental institution.
Right.
And they're putting them into our country. Thank you very much. I will ask every state and federal agency to identify every known or suspected gang member in America, and every one of them that is here illegally. And the towns know who they are. The towns and cities or the police. We love our police. The police know who they are.
It's not just scary that Trump says this stuff, it's really scary that there's anyone in this country so ignorant or gullible that they would believe it. And as I've said before, you have people that rant, right? I mean, Trump, guy in the subway, whatever. But the fact that there are millions of people that believe this stuff.
Worst people. These are absolute brutal killers. They used to knife 16-year-old girls because it was more painful. It would take longer to kill her. These are real animals. And Nancy Pelosi says, how dare you call them animals? These are human beings. I said, no, they're not. But these are real animals. And we couldn't get them back into their countries because the country was like, especially three. You take a look at Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras in particular, and Mexico to an extent. You couldn't get them back in because they didn't want them. They sent them out in the first place. You know, they forced them into our country, just so you know. These are very smart people that run these places. They're very streetwise. So I said, what's the problem, sir? We have thousands of people, but they won't allow us to land the planes. They won't allow the buses to cross the border. They won't allow them back in their country. I say, how much money do we pay to these various countries? Sir, we pay $750 million a year. I say, all right, inform the country that we're no longer paying any money. And if they ask why, you can tell them that. And yes, sir, we'll do that. So the following morning, almost simultaneously, early, about 8 o'clock, I got calls from all three at one time. In fact, I had to tell two of them, I'll call you back. Because they all came in right on time, Matt. Right on time, like you call on time. And what happens is they came in and they called. They said, sir, there must be a misunderstanding. We would love to have MS-13 back in our country. And we started dropping them off by the tens of thousands, and I still hadn't paid them back their money. I kept it, figured let's hold it as long as possible because they've been ripping us off long enough. To stop the flow of deadly drugs, it will be my policy to take down the cartels, just as I took down the ISIS caliphate that everybody said was impossible to do. A lot of parents in this audience that lost a child, that lost a loved one to fentanyl and all of the drugs that are pouring in, so many different kinds. Fentanyl is a big problem. In fact, with the ISIS caliphate, a certain general said, it could only be done in 3 years, and probably it can't be done at all, sir. And I did it in 3 weeks. I went over to Iraq, met a great general. Sir, I can do it in 3 weeks. You've heard that story. I can do it in 3 weeks, sir. How are you going to do that? They explained it. I did it in 3 weeks. I was told it couldn't be done at all, but it would take at least 3 years. Did it in 3 weeks. Knocked out 100% of the ISIS caliphate. We have a great military. The reason I say that, we have a great military. And I will direct the Department of Justice to go after Marxist prosecutors' offices to make them pay for their illegal rape.
That should be a quick process, since I can't think of any Marxist prosecutors.
By the way, we have one of those great generals with us, General Kellogg. Where's General Kellogg? Is he around here someplace? Where is General Kellogg? He's the greatest. He's here. Thank you, General. Thank you. Thank you, General. And in cities where there's been a complete breakdown of public safety, I will send in federal assets, including the National Guard, until law and order is restored. You know, we're not supposed to do that. And one thing I think about a lot is when we have some difficulty in certain cities like Minneapolis, and if you take a look at Portland, how's Portland doing? They don't even have storefronts anymore. Everything's 2x4s because they get burned down every week. They don't put new storefronts
Portland's
up.
fine. I have many friends
chaos. There. But when we had in Seattle, remember they took over a large portion. I was ready to send in the National Guard. They heard that. More than the National Guard. I was ready to go to town. And they heard that, and you know what they did? They said, we're going to break it up now. They left. But we saved Minneapolis. The thing is, we're not supposed to do that because it's up to the governor, the Democrat governor. They never want any help. They don't mind. It's almost like they don't mind to have their cities and states destroyed. There's something wrong with these people. All of us have seen too many videos of 13-year-old carjackers and 14-year-old hoodlums viciously beating their victims. Saw it just yesterday, a horrible situation. They kill people without retribution because they may be days short of the age required to put them away, put them in jail, and throw away the keys for a long time. My administration will crack down on these out-of-control monsters, young though they may be, and impose tough consequences on juvenile criminals. You know, criminals use young people. They actually...
Trump should run on death penalty for juveniles.
Some money, not a lot, because if they get caught, nothing's going to happen to them. That will end. I will end the scourge of homelessness taking over our cities and suburbs. I just drove through Washington, D.C., coming here for the first time in quite a while, and the roads and highways were littered with trash like I've never seen before. It looked like somebody just took their garbage and just threw it all over the highways, the Beltway. It's so disgraceful, so disgusting. I always made it a point as president when I saw the highways were dirty or that the homeless encampments were starting to form to take care of the problem immediately. I used to have people out here all the time sweeping highways, cleaning highways, hosing them down. It bothered me so much. I'm in the beast. I'm being driven back to the White House from some site, and I see this filthy, dirty highway with paper that hasn't been, you could see it's been laying there for months.
Paper?
And I'd have them cleaned up. I wouldn't even call the mayor because it was never going to get done with the mayor. Frankly, the federal government should take over control and management of Washington, D.C. Good project.
All right, folks, we're hopefully getting down to the end. We'll open phone lines once again. If you're watching on Twitch, great time to re-up your Twitch Prime subscription. We will open phone lines if we get to 100. I expect this will go somewhere between 5 and 500 more minutes.
The streets are much better maintained, much nicer. And they see camps and homeless all over our beautiful, once beautiful parks, all over. Hundreds and hundreds of tents. I used to have them taken down immediately. I'd see 1 or 2 or 3. I said, do it fast, immediately. Then I'd check, and it was done. They'd never have time to do it. Once they have 500, 600, 700 of these things up, it's a much more difficult thing. But you can do that, too. Under our leadership, we will take the homeless, drug-addicted, and severely deranged, get them off our streets, and create 10 cities where...
I guess they're taking Trump if you're including severely deranged.
On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's crazy executive order installing Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion czars in every federal agency. And I will immediately terminate all staffers hired to implement this horrible agenda.
Didn't happen. Literally did not happen.
I will urge Congress to create a restitution fund for Americans who have been unjustly discriminated against by these Biden policies. They're so unfair. They're so un-American. They're so un-American. And we will ban all racial discrimination by the government. I will fight for parents' rights. Can you believe that here we are, and I'm saying I'm going to fight for parents' rights? Who would think that you have to ever say parents' rights? Don't you think parents have pretty good rights, right? Who would think that you have to actually say...
All right, is he going to do teach transgender? Is he going to do it?
Universal school choice and the direct election of school principals by the parents. We want the school principal to be appointed and elected by parents. And you'll get some good principals then. Who loves the children more than the parents? If any principal is not getting the job done, the parents should be able to fire that principal immediately and select someone new. Continuing the work of our 1776 Commission, we will teach our values and promote our history and our traditions to our children. We will, in other words, be proud of our country again. Revoke every Biden policy promoting the chemical castration and sexual mutilation.
Mutilization.
And ask Congress to send me a bill prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. That should be easy. And we will keep men out of women's sports. And we will ban men. How ridiculous. That will take place on day one. I will destroy the illegal censorship regime and bring back free speech in America, because we do not have free speech. And I will stop Joe Biden's demolition of our economy with his crushing inflation and mass layoffs. We will take care of inflation very, very quickly. 4.9 million people have dropped out of the labor force since I was president.
Most of them because they retired.
Administration's great Larry Kudlow. Does everybody know Larry? As Larry Kudlow said, Biden is setting a record on economic regulations that are absolutely killing American companies. His spending and his borrowing are at record levels. It's causing historic inflation, sir, which is only going to get worse and worse. He just called me before I got it. I said, I don't want to say this, Larry. It's only going to get worse and worse. It's driving up interest rates, and new cars and homes are going to be impossible to buy. Amidst this economic disaster, Biden talks about saving you a few dollars on some junk fees. Don't mean anything. By defeating Joe Biden, I will save your economy, I will save your retirement accounts, and I will save your jobs. We had the greatest job history of any president ever. I will create a true national trade policy like the kind that made America the world's economic powerhouse. What we were doing prior to the dust coming in from China was nobody's ever seen it. There's never been anything like it. That period of...
I see a lot of people asking. It has been 85 minutes of Trump speaking. We are getting very close to an hour and a half.
...dollars on military protection, that if American products do not receive preferential treatment in their markets, our military is packed up and leaving. Which some countries I did that with, and usually it took a phone call and everything was just fine. Because economic security is national security, I will revoke China's most favored nation's trade status immediately on day one. And I will implement a 4-year plan to phase out all Chinese imports of essential goods and gain total independence from China. We have to do it. We have to do it. I will hold China financially accountable for unleashing the China virus upon the world. And I will again withdraw from the WHO, which stands for We Hide Outbreaks. We hide outbreaks. The United States was paying. I think this is important because, again, it's so much common sense involved. The United States was paying the World Health Organization $450 million a year. Now, in terms of money and the kind of trillions and trillions we're talking about, it's not that much, but it's still $450 million a year. And I took them out. That's what it was. The price was $450, and that's for 350 million people. China was paying $39 million a year for 1.4 billion people. Doesn't sound too right. And they had total control, by the way. We had no control. They literally own it. When I withdrew from the WHO, they offered me to stay in. Please don't leave. Please, please, please. For what China pays. They said, we'll bring it down to 39 million. I was actually close to doing this deal, if you want to know the truth, but I would have had it. You would have been angry at me. I said, I don't want to have CPAC angry at me. But I might have gone back in. But I could have done it for 39. I could have probably done it for less than that. But now Biden has gone back for the full price of $450 million. Now, all he has to do is read the newspapers. They were begging me to come back in for $39 million. So why would you pay $450 million? Do you understand that? Gordon, you understand that? How crazy. So China's in for 39. They're saying, you're right, it's unfair. It's unfair. We will do it for 39. We will take you back. The head man, you know who that is? We will take you back. And then I started to say, actually, it should be much less. It should be like 5 or 6 million, right? But I didn't want to go there. We will take you back for 39 million. You're right, President. I said, well, we'll think about it. We'll see what happens. But the offer will remain open, right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They went back in for the original amount. It's so sad. And we have no control, by the way. China controls WHO. So that's what it does. WHO is totally controlled by China. We could have saved $400 million a year. It's a lot of money. And now they're asking for even more dictatorial power and more and more and more of our money, but they're getting nothing more from China. When we're dealing with the Biden administration, it seems that every single day...
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breached 90 minutes of Trump speaking. We have learned nothing other than he is really out of his mind, and his followers are arguably even worse off.
And everybody else wants it to be closed. It's April Fool's. We want an open border. That's April Fool's. We want voter ID. They don't want voter ID. Who wouldn't want voter ID? 88% of the Democrats, except for the leadership, because they can't cheat with voter ID. But 88% of the Democrats want voter ID. But they don't want voter ID. It's April Fool's Day. They want to take the soldiers out of Afghanistan before we take our people and equipment out. But we want the soldiers to come out last. So then they blow it into a catastrophe, the most embarrassing event in the history of our country. It's April Fool's Day. They want all electric cars that don't go very far. I have a friend, he bought a car. He said, the car's wonderful, but you know, I go for an hour and a half and I got to put a charger and I can't find the charger. I'm going crazy.
Weird.
And also all the batteries and everything, the material comes all out of China. We have oil and gas, but we don't want the oil and gas cars. But we want everything, including electric cars, but we also want gasoline because the cars go longer and they're preferred by many people.
Brave
we don't
declaration.
Like quick drives that are stopped for 2.5 hours. It's April Fool's. They want all electric stoves all over the country, but we don't have the electric power for that.
Folks, I'm switching to induction from my gas stove. I am doing it. It's just so good. I lived for a few months with an induction. It's fantastic. It really is.
We want windmills all over the place that ruin our fields, kill our birds, and are very unreliable, and are the most expensive energy ever developed. We want oil, gasoline, natural gas because it's cheaper, better, and much more powerful. It's April Fool's Day. Under my leadership, we will regain energy independence that we had 3 years ago. We were on our way to massive energy dominance. We would have been paying off our debt because energy is big numbers. It's not like you're selling a little product. You're selling the biggest product of all is energy. We would have been paying off our debt. We would have been the strongest. You know, we're already bigger under my administration, bigger than Saudi Arabia or Russia. Right. We were going to be much bigger than both of them combined. Within about a year, we would have made the kind of money they're making times 5. And we would have been paying off debt, and we would have been reducing taxes, and it would have been a beautiful thing. But they came in and they said, we don't want that. I will fight for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress.
Wow, great.
And I will move heaven and earth to fully and finally secure our elections. All Republican governors should immediately go for paper ballots, one-day voting, and voter ID. And the problem we have is we have governors, and some of them we like and some of them we don't, but they're all talk. Think of it, they control the state. And we have a lot of governors. They should go for that. Paper ballots, same-day voting. You know, France had 37 million people voting. They voted in one day, and at 10:30 in the evening, they called the winner. There were no problems. They have paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID. And they only had a little mail-in, and we would have this too, for soldiers that are very far away or people that are legitimately sick. Okay, legitimately, as opposed to millions and millions of ballots flooding the offices. They used COVID.
Remember that Trump voted by mail.
That day comes, Republicans must compete using every lawful means to win. That means swamping the left with mail-in votes, early votes, and election day votes. Have to do it. We have to change our thinking, because some bad things happened. You know, for some reason, Republicans like to vote on Election Day, right? The problem is you get there and they have so many already started. But worse, if you take a look at Kari Lake in Arizona, where they waited and waited. Don't vote now, wait till Tuesday, wait till Tuesday, wait till Tuesday. And in the Republican areas, a tremendous percentage of the machines were broken and you couldn't vote.
Lie.
And they had lines that were a mile long over the place, Republican areas.
She lost.
And they couldn't vote. They said, come back in 7 hours. But people can't do that. They have Little League, they have doctors. They might love Kari, they might love.
That's why voting early is great.
Stand for, but they can't do that. And they were standing in the hot sun for hours and hours. And then they sent in mechanics to fix them. And when the mechanics left, they were far worse.
Mechanics.
And
well, the problem is your catalytic converter on this voting machine.
Our judges have no courage to do what's right. They have no courage to do what's right. I can tell you that was the case in 2022, where we can't get rid of drop boxes. We need them in every church. What we have to do, we have to put our own drop boxes in. Zuckerberg spent $500 million. And, you know, if you contribute $5,700, $1 more than that, to a candidate, they put you in jail. This guy gave $500 million for all of this crap that they were doing, shenanigans. They were handing out the money like it was candy. And that's fine. But if people are going to jail for spending like $93 too much, because it's not according to election law. And until we can eliminate ballot harvesting, we will become masters at ballot harvesting. We have no choice. Beating the Democrats at their own game.
Wow. He's admitting it. Interesting.
And we'll do it legally. The agenda I've laid out today will end America's destruction. But it is not enough just to stop the forces tearing America down. I want once again to build America up. We have to build our country. We don't build anymore. All we do is investigate everybody. You ever see television? You know, it used to be we'd build our military. We were proud of it. We'd be doing all things. All you see on the thing, investigation, investigation, investigation. Now, with that being said, you got to look at Hunter. I mean, how crooked is that deal? But, you know, it's not something I'd like to not do anything. I'd like to get back to building our country and making our country great again. But it's time to start talking about greatness for our country. Our objective will be a quantum leap in the American state.
If you think that the speech has looped back to the beginning, he's just repeating a lot of the same stuff now close to 100 minutes in.
On the frontier to give countless Americans a new shot at home ownership and the American dream. It's such a wonderful, beautiful thing. And I'll challenge the governors of all 50 states, to join me in a great beautification campaign. We will rename our schools and boulevards, not after communists, but after great American patriots.
Like who?
We will get rid of bad and ugly buildings and return to the magnificent classical style of Western civilization. We will support baby boomers And we will support baby bonuses for a new baby boom. How does that sound? That sounds pretty. I want a baby boom.
Isn't that like the child tax credit, which Biden wants to make permanent, which Republicans are opposed to? You got to be. I'm going to have to punch myself in the face.
Our country will shine, thrive, and prosper like never before. All of this is within our reach, but only if we have the courage to complete the job, gut the deep state, reclaim our democracy, and banish the tyrants and Marxists into political exile forever. They are bad for us. They want us to fail. They want our country to go down. They are sick people. Change only happens if we plow fearlessly ahead and declare with one voice that the era of woke and weaponized government is over. That is
Hasn't
our
even
task.
started. It's over already.
That is our mission. And this is the turning point and the time for that decision. Because as you've probably heard me say before, we will not back down. We will not bend. We will not quit. We will not yield. We will press forward with push. We will press forward with vigor. We will push onward, and we will finish what we started. We started a great, great positive revolution. Nobody's ever seen anything like it before.
Right.
It's called Make America Great Again. We want to make America great again. We will cross the finish line. We will dismantle the deep state. We will demolish woke tyranny, and we will restore the American Republic to all of its radiant glory. And with God's help and your support, we will make America powerful again. We want to have a powerful country. We need to have a powerful country. We will make America wealthy again.
Oh, God, not this one.
We will make...
I thought I had gotten beyond this nonsense in my life.
That's what we want. We want strength. We will make America, think of your heart pounding. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again, not like our streets of the cities, which are a disgrace for the entire world to watch. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. CPAC, thank you. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Wow. Well, a 102-minute speech repeating many of the same stories 2, 3, even 4 times. Dangerously unhinged, comically delusional, and the weaponization was right there, my friends. Wow, wow, wow. At least 10,000 of you were here, so I didn't have to do it alone. Dear God. The 2024 election is on, folks. The 2024 election is on. If you're leaving, and by no means should you leave now, make sure that you have subscribed to the YouTube channel. It's free, or that you've followed on Twitch so that you'll be notified as our 2024 coverage continues. If you are a Twitch Prime subscriber, please make sure to get that free Twitch Prime subscription before you leave. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, that is. And remember that today is the absolute last day to use the coupon code CPAC Trash. CPAC Trash. Who's talking? S-Prez has dumped in 75 subscriptions, which is just incredible. Just incredible. The coupon code CPAC Trash saves you 70%. I promised that we would open phone lines if we got to 100 members, and we did. So let's do it right now via Discord at davidpakman.com/Discord. Join the waiting lobby if you would like to check in with me about the atrocities that we saw today. Really horrifying. Hold on a second. There we go. Really, really horrifying. If you want to talk to me, davidpakman.com/Discord. Join the waiting lobby. What an absolute horrifying event. And quite frankly, much lower energy than many of the ones that we previously experienced. That is for damn sure. Soon they're going to be interviewing Trump, I guess, apparently. If you want to talk to me, make sure you request to speak in the Discord waiting lobby. Another CPAC is fortunately over, because that was really, 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 really scary and bad. They're speaking to Elise Stefanik. Let's listen.
Tell me about what's going on in your district right now with the northern border. We hear so much about the southern border. What's happening in your district right now?
So for the past 2 years, I've sounded the alarm that the impact of what's happening on the southern border impacts my district in the...
Oh, give me a break. She's absolutely the worst. Let's go to Denise from Pittsburgh and get it started. I want to hear from you. We are hearing from people's reactions to Trump's CPAC speech live. davidpakman.com/Discord. And then go to the waiting lobby and then request to speak. I'm trying to bring on Denise from Pittsburgh. Denise, you've got to accept my invitation. Just accept it, Denise, and then we'll be able to talk. Oh, boy. Denise from Pittsburgh, welcome. It's already going bad. It's going bad quickly. Let's try Shannon from Iowa. Shannon from Iowa, welcome. Let's see what is... Hi, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I guess, I was just amazed at all of the lunacy because I feel like we're normal. But at the end, what caught me was him grifting again and saying, if we all have God on our side, but your wallet's open, we'll make it. What do you think of that comment?
It's the continued grift. That's all it is. And this is all a business play for Trump. Not even business. It's just a financial play. And it's embarrassing and it's humiliating. And really, again, like I said before, it's crazy that there are millions of people too dumb to know any better, even still, because people will donate and they're going to fall for it. And it's, at some point, a fool and their money will be parted. You know what I mean, Shannon?
I do. I mean, I wonder how many of them got the free hat and coin, right next.
There was an incredible deal where you could get a coin from Newsmax if you called in while Trump was speaking. How many did you get, Shannon?
Oh, well, I got as many as I could too.
Yeah.
I just can't. I'm just speechless, and I'm not a speechless kind of person. So.
It really is. I mean, it is beyond words. It really is.
Right.
But listen, I'm glad that I hope you'll be along for the ride into 24 at least, so I'm not by myself here.
Hey, I'm not going anywhere. I am right here with you, David. Thank you so much.
Shannon from Iowa, always great to hear from you. Today is the last day you can use the coupon code CPAC Trash to get a membership on my website. Zachary Knott has just used the code and is new member 103 today. Just while we're taking calls, I will remind you, if we get to 250 members, Monday's show I will do with half a mustache, and then we will say goodbye to the mustache after that, okay? That's what's on the table now. At 250, I will do the Monday show with half of a mustache, and then it goes. Let's go next to Jordan from North Carolina. Jordan from North Carolina, what's on your mind today?
Baba Booey, David.
Oh, you got me.
I gotcha. Really good. I was watching this, and I'm like, wasn't Nikki Haley yesterday or something, and she was saying something like, the Republican Party needs to move on from the old leadership to the younger generation? Like,
yeah.
Isn't it kind of embarrassing that he shows up after this and he's there to kind of grift and to say he's still relevant? Meanwhile, basically everyone else is it's time to move on.
Yeah.
We need new people. It's just really cringy.
But Trump's winning every primary poll and he almost certainly can win the nomination. That's the crazy thing about it. It's all very incongruous.
Kill me. That's terrible.
Yeah. And North Carolina, listen, your state is going to be a factor. Your state is increasingly an interesting one. So I hope, you're voting, of course, I'm sure.
Of course, and I actually spoke to you election night 2020.
Wow.
It was looking scary in North Carolina. I think we went red, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, crazy times.
All right, my friend. Great to hear from you.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, there goes Jordan from North Carolina. Texas Bear Claw has just signed up via Twitch Prime, which I can't tell you how much I appreciate. We are at 104. And thanks to Terry Schwerin, we are at 105. At 250, Monday's show I will do with half of my mustache. Let's go next to Janice from Texas. Janice, welcome. What did you think? What's on your mind today? Uh-oh. Janice from Texas, please accept my invitation, and then I will be able to hear you. And, here's Janice. There it is. Hey, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic. I'm a little surprised that I was chosen. This is so exciting.
I'm surprised too, to be honest.
I watch your show so often, and I mean, I can't tell you how much I look forward to just laughing along with the things that you make fun of. Especially yesterday, I was quite literally in tears with Ben Carson's music getting played over. But anyways,
oh my God!
nice
For people who missed that, yeah, when Ben Carson spoke at CPAC, they were playing him off like they were playing music to get him to end for almost 2 full minutes. And he seemed, correct me if I'm wrong, Janice, he was almost speaking more and more slowly as the music played.
He wasn't quite picking up on it. It was almost as if he was doing it in spite of the music. But
yes.
I wanted to add also that my name is pronounced Janice, and no big deal. You are actually the first person who pronounced my name correctly a year ago when I first signed on. You made a live announcement, and I was just shocked. I was
You're
floored.
saying that unprompted, just by seeing the spelling, I pronounced it Janice?
Yeah, you said Janice Cotto, and I was shocked because that
doesn't even make sense to
happened.
me, because there's no reason why I would assume that's the pronunciation. That's really
I was
odd.
shocked. Well, mi padres son de Puerto Rico, so I feel like when my parents gave me the name Janice, it was meant to be spelt or said that way. Anyways, your Spanish show has given my mom something to watch, so thank you in addition to that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and one note, I know a lot of people were hoping I would be doing the dubbing on the Spanish channel, but like I quite literally don't have the time in the day. But we did
She was bummed out. She was bummed out, not
we
gonna
took
lie.
everybody's feedback saying that the dubbing needs to be a little higher energy, and we gave it to the dubbing team, and I think the most recent handful of clips are much higher energy.
Yeah, she definitely has a crush on you. I gave her a little piece of when you did a little bit in Spanish, and
Right.
she was just, she has the biggest crush on you. So thank you. You're helping
Wow.
her lean a little left.
Well, Janice, please say hi to your mom for me.
I will. Thanks, David.
All right, there goes Janice from Texas with an absolutely perfect pronunciation. We haven't heard from Val from Massachusetts. I feel like it's been years, Val. Has it? Well, welcome. Uh-oh. Val? Val?
Hello?
Hey, are you on, Val?
I'm on. I can't believe I got in.
Welcome. It's been at least a year since we've spoken, right?
It has been quite a bit.
Well, you're
First-
coming through perfectly.
On the little one.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And hopefully you're getting a decent amount of sleep these days.
Yeah, the baby basically sleeps 7:30 to 6:30 at this point, which really isn't bad,
Wow. No,
Yeah.
that's really, really good.
Yep. And no Benadryl involved, believe it or not.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thanks for the coverage as always.
Thank you.
I was wondering I was in the Northampton area recently. If you could recommend a good place. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the names of good places that are, restaurants.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to do that?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I just don't want to say anything, inappropriate. I was thinking of you because of it being your old stomping ground area.
Right. The show,
And,
15 years ago, the David Pakman Show started in Northampton, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I was at Fitzwilly's actually.
Okay.
Have you ever been there?
You know, I have. And unfortunately, about 10 years ago, this has nothing to do with the restaurant, but someone who didn't like my politics confronted me at Fitzwilly's. And I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't like it when people do this. No, that was before the Marjorie Taylor Greene era. But I have been there, and I was, someone came up to me and said they don't like my politics. This was about a decade ago.
Oh, wow. So that kind of soured the experience, I'd imagine.
Yeah, but I took it like a big boy. No tears or anything.
Yeah, no tears. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say hey and keep up the great work.
I appreciate that very much. There is Val from Massachusetts. Always great to hear from you. Thanks to Denibu for the Twitch Prime subscription, number 106 tonight. Also, big thanks to Blake Daniel signing up at joinpacman.com, number 107. Let's listen to just a little bit of this unhinged interview that Trump is giving right now.
Power. They certainly had the power to send it back, because right after everything was over, and they all said they didn't have it, and I said, well, our vice president isn't supposed to be a conveyor belt if they find something wrong.
All right. I'd rather talk to you guys, quite frankly. I think we heard enough of Trump for today. Let's go to Nathaniel from London, where I will soon be. Oh, no, that's not. It's Long Beach. Sorry. I'm not going to soon be in Long Beach. But still, Nathaniel from Long Beach, welcome to the live stream. If you unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear you. And people asking for the coupon code, it is CPAC Trash. CPAC Trash. It's quite literally on the screen right above me. Thanks to Thezerkek for the Twitch Prime subscription. You're number 108. If Nathaniel can unmute himself, we'll be able to hear him. Nathaniel, last chance. All right. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Let's go next to Tamisha from New York City. Always great to hear from Tamisha. Tamisha, welcome. Great to talk to you again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Hi. I lost my voice a little bit, but I'm going to try.
It's not COVID, is it?
What happened?
It's not COVID that caused you to lose your voice?
No. I had COVID around Christmas, and
Me too.
I did not get really that sick.
Okay, I got quite ill for
Now I
about
don't
30
have
hours.
COVID. I just have, I guess, a cold.
All right, yeah, it could be like a laryngitis or something.
Exactly.
Okay, well, welcome.
But I wanted to talk about Scott Adams. Is that his name?
Yeah, the Dilbert creator, of course.
Yes. He did a tweet, I don't know if it was yesterday or today, saying that that his canceling is political
Right.
because he's was canceled by white liberals, but black liberals want to have conversation with him, and white conservatives or conservatives don't care at all.
Yeah,
says
I
a lot.
thought I heard I thought I saw he blocked me years ago, as I know you know. But what I saw, I think that he said was something like no conservatives nor black people think what he said was racist or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to always jump the racism bandwagon, even though I also say that if something's racist, we should be able to call it out and
Absolutely.
stand up against it.
Yeah.
But what he said a lot of problematic things.
Yes.
I mean, I think he deserves a conversation about it, but what he said was problematic, saying that black people are what did
A
he say?
hate
Black
group.
people?
That black people are a hate group.
Yeah, black people are a hate group. We should have stay away from them, and then there's no helping them or no
Yes.
fixing them.
Yeah.
I find those three statements alone to be problematic.
Yes, so do I. I think I agree with you there.
But my main question was, I responded to the tweet and I said, why is it that white people can cry or call out racism and not be called a victim, but if a black person calls out racism, they're called a victim?
Yeah, well, it's just it's not unique just to that. It's with everything. It's just this insane projection where it's like, oh, the left cancels people. Actually, the right cancels people. Oh, we've talked about the left wants to steal an election. Actually, the right tried to steal an election. It's just the projection that we've come to know and be, unfortunately, to expect at this point.
Yeah, projection, hypocrisy, a lot of problematic stuff going on.
I'll say, yeah, but good for you for responding. I wish I could respond to some of his tweets, but he blocked me,
It's frustrating because then I got called a racist myself. I got told to shut the F up.
Yep.
I mean, I got a lot of pushback, and most of it was from conservatives, of course.
Yeah, not a surprise. Not a surprise. But listen, this is the free market of ideas. Scott Adams was able to say whatever he wanted to say, and everybody else was able to respond with whatever speech they wanted to respond with. Newspapers are able to decide for themselves with no government coercion. Do they want to carry Dilbert or don't they want to carry Dilbert? And many of them don't want to carry Dilbert any longer, and that's their right.
Yeah, well, you can't tell that to people because then they'll say that it's a conspiracy or
Yeah.
it's the left that controls the media. They always have an answer. So
Of course.
I mean, I of course understand what you're saying and I agree, but I'm just telling you what other people will say.
You're completely right. They're already saying that stuff. It's to be expected.
But anyway, hope everything's good. Your daughter's eating well still.
Oh my goodness, she is on fire. We're having to up the food bowls because she's just she's accepting all food and extremely hungry all the time.
Oh, it's funny because when you told me your story about the eating the bones, I think of my son. He's 10, but when he eats chicken or pork chops or anything like that, he cleans the bone right off.
Yeah, she's obsessed with me. I mean, when we've actually had to put a pause on the steak, which we weren't doing frequently anyway, because she would start sobbing when the steak was gone. It was just too triggering when the steak and chicken seemed to be, and banana, anything banana based, where just sobbing with tears in her eyes when it ends. So we're putting a pause on it. It's too triggering for her.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Her appetite was insatiated.
It really is. It really is. Tamisha, always great to hear from you.
You too. Have a good one.
All right. Tamisha from New York City. Thanks to Safaray for the Twitch Prime subscription. You're number 109 today. Also, thanks to Tammy Purdy signing up at joinpacman.com. Today is the last day for the coupon code CPAC Trash. We are taking calls from people in the audience, just people. We'll go next to Austin from Indiana. Austin, welcome. What's on your mind today? Austin, you got to unmute. Yeah, there you are.
Hey, thank you, David.
Pleasure.
So I was wondering, which COVID origin theory do you lean towards, and has the recent news about the FBI and the DOE impacted your stance at all?
Okay, beautiful question. So listen, I want to know the truth about where COVID came from, and I don't want anything to get in the way of that. And whatever the truth is, I want to know, and that is what I'm going to go with. All of that being said, I'm not hugely convinced by the Department of Energy's admittedly low confidence assessment when we have other high confidence assessments. But I think in order of likelihood, the origins or oranges of COVID would be made a jump from animal to human in a wet market, accidentally escaped a lab, bioweapon would be third. That's my order at this point in time.
All right, thank you for that.
All right, Austin from Indiana, great to hear from you. Vicky Hurt just signed up at joinpacman.com and is new member 111. Also want to say thanks to New Hampshire Fog, who just signed up via Twitch Prime and is new member number 112. We are on the table is that if we get to 250 members tonight, I'll shave half my mustache and do the Monday show that way with no explanation. Some people like it, some people don't. Let's go next to Caesar from Florida. Caesar, welcome to the stream. What's on your mind today? Caesar from Florida, please select the correct audio device and then let me know what's on your mind today. And last chance, Caesar from Florida, please.
You there?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Awesome, thank you. Being a Floridian, I'm constantly having to worry about DeSantis, and I was wondering your opinion on some of the latest things he's been pushing here.
Well, I think it's pseudo-authoritarian nonsense. He's claiming credit for a great state in Florida. And listen, I love Florida as much as the next guy. I was just there. I would gladly spend 2 to 3 months out of the year in Florida to get out of the cold weather of the north. the food scene in Miami and in Broward. It's all fantastic. But Florida is a very mediocre state in most metrics, right in the middle on infrastructure, right in the middle on crime, all ranked between 22nd and 28th. Not terrible, but not very good. And the things DeSantis has been taking credit for are like, the Don't Say Gay bill and taking control of Disney because it went woke and banning CRT, which wasn't being taught in school. So it's all scary virtue signaling, which if he runs for president, he will use to puff himself up.
Oh yeah, lately he's been pushing a registration for bloggers.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And the dissolving of the Democratic Party in Florida.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, was he pushing the dissolving of the Democratic Party, or was that Florida Republicans? Yeah.
I think that was
no, but
Republicans.
this whole registration of bloggers thing seems wild, and I guess Dave Rubin will have to register. We're not exactly freedom,
Well, then you could push that to journalism, and then because they're just going to take from one step to the other one, and next you know they have to talk to everyone.
100%. Yeah, no, DeSantis is a scary guy. He's probably just as nuts as Trump, but much less incompetent.
Well, he's learned from Trump a lot, how the courts are slow, so he gets to do what he wants, like all this. He's basically appointing people that are elected, but just not by firing them, by suspending them long enough, knowing that by the time the courts take over, their terms will actually be over and it won't matter.
Yep, 100%. He's a dangerous guy, and let's see if he announces he's running,
Yeah.
Caesar, what part of Florida are you from?
Central, in the Orlando area.
Okay, yeah, I've been there a bunch. It's all right. It's not my favorite part of the state, I have to say.
Yeah, it's well, at least I don't have to worry about hurricanes as much. Everyone keeps worrying. My family keeps worrying that, the hurricane's coming. I said, no, it's got to land. A lot of land you got to go through before you hit us.
That's absolutely
I can still go to
the
the
case.
beach, but I don't have to worry about that part.
All right, Caesar from Florida. Great to hear from you.
Thank you.
All right, there he goes. I want to say a big thank you to Christopher Estrada, who just signed up at joinpacman.com. Coupon code CPACTrash saves you bigly at joinpacman.com. You can easily sign up on the website, and then I will shout you out. Let's talk to a couple more people if we can, right? I mean, why not? We're here. How about I don't know. How about I guess Nathaniel from Long Beach's audio is fixed. So let's go with that.
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't unmute myself, but shout out to Nate from the moderator team, Rhode Island, for fixing that for me swiftly.
Excellent.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear from you. So I'm actually pursuing a political science degree, or currently at the moment, and I'm kind of curious. The common sentiment amongst the young Americans is like, yeah, we need somebody younger in office. Like, personally, when I hear Joe Biden running for office, I'm not very thrilled because I feel like I'd like somebody that would have a bit more experience and knowledge of what the problems we go through per se.
Yep.
In fact, that's kind of why I hear that the minimum wage hasn't really been raised from $7.25 federally at the federal level, because everyone seems to think that. But I don't know. I'm just curious. Do you have any advice on like how to pursue it? Or I mean, I know you're not like a career expert or anything, but what should I be like looking towards or focus on if I'm trying to pursue making politics better and slamming the Republican Party, if you will. But
well, I would suggest just start getting involved at the local level as soon as you possibly can, whatever that means. Is it city council? Is it working on a city council campaign for someone else? Is it what you've got to find a way to start getting involved. And then at the same time, there is a book about the fields that are most likely to allow for making political impact. I forget if it's 80,000 hours or 4,000 weeks. There's like two books, but look them up and you'll find it. Read a little bit and learn about the careers that you may want to consider in order to have an impact.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my concerns too, is like what happens if like you run and you're like Carrie Lake, where you run for somebody something once and then you fail and then you're basically really won't have a chance anymore. Although I still see her running for Senate. It's although I don't know if she'll win or not. But
sometimes people win after losing stuff. I don't know. I wouldn't count her out yet. I mean, she has no business trying to be in politics, but unfortunately she has supporters, and so we'll see. But let's not count her out quite yet.
Yeah, well, the 3 supporters that showed up to the Capitol to the protest against that, yeah, that's definitely some supporters at the very least. All right,
Yeah.
well, I thank you for your time, and I appreciate your advice. I'll definitely look into the book
All
that you
right.
mentioned. Thank you so
Nathaniel
much.
from Long Beach, great to hear from you. Big shout out to Amy David. Amy David just signed up. I mean, just this is a membership created out of thin air, is new on my website, and is new member number 114 today. If you're watching on Twitch and you have Amazon Prime and you have not signed up anywhere with Twitch Prime yet, consider giving your Twitch Prime subscription to the David Pakman channel. It costs you nothing, and it takes a few bucks from Jeffrey Bezos, which is exciting. Let's go next to Dan from Michigan. Dan from Michigan, welcome to the stream. What's on your mind today?
Not much. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
All right. Oh, man, I don't have a question prepared. What do you think? So I get it in my head sometimes that, upward mobility for everyone and the environmental impact that would have is just gonna ruin everything. I don't want to necessarily keep everyone in poverty, but I also get this idea that as we all kind of increase our spending power and consuming more, it's just going to tank like the world.
What do you mean?
But
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
So, throughout this country and throughout the whole world, there's a lot of people who live in poverty who don't have much of an environmental impact.
Yes.
But as we want everyone to have a better lifestyle, but I just don't know how we can accomplish that without having just an insane environmental impact.
I see. Yes. No, and it is absolutely true that as developing countries continue to develop, their carbon emissions per capita go up dramatically. That's all true. I hate to be I don't even know what the word is, but you've got to regulate. It comes down to countries regulating emissions. There's really no other way, because we know that as people get wealthier, they will consume more and they will emit more.
Okay, so it's kind of you think it's our responsibility at the top to set the example, and then hopefully as the other nations come up, they don't, do what we're doing now. They kind of do what we should have been doing this whole time instead.
I don't know of any other way, quite frankly.
Oh, man. Jeez, that's a downer.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
Hey, big fan of the show. Big fan.
Thank you. I really, just out of curiosity, are you on a Bluetooth?
Yeah, you caught me.
Okay, no problem. Just checking. All right, Dan from Michigan, thank you very much. Great to hear from you. Yeah, there were 2 signs. One is that there was like a delay in him responding, which is typical of Bluetooth. And number 2, he sounded like he was talking through an old radio. All right, everybody, that does it for today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for everything. It's been great hearing from people. Trump ranted for nearly 2 hours. It is over. We will see everybody on Monday. Thank you very much.